And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mayers versus Reedy. Step forward, please.
20-year-old hospital patient transporter Terrence Mayers is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old clothing salesperson Nicole Reedy, for breaking an apartment lease. Nicole is countersuing, claiming she paid Terrence's bills while he was unemployed.
Mr. Mayers, you and Ms. Reedy had a relationship and decided to move into an apartment together. You signed the 6-month lease. According to your complaint, the defendant moved out 2 months shy of the 6 months. Is that right?
Correct.
And you want her to be responsible for her portion of the lease because you moved in together with the understanding that you would each be responsible for 50% of the bills.
Correct.
In addition, you want her to be responsible for some furniture that was purchased, I assume purchased for this apartment.
Correct.
You claim that the furniture was purchased because the defendant wanted the furniture, so you purchased it on your credit card.
Right.
You have the furniture,
In storage, yes, I do.
but you want her to pay for it because she wanted it.
Right.
Ms. Reedy has a counterclaim. She says for the majority of the time that you lived together, you weren't working. She paid the bills. So she's got a counterclaim, is that right?
Yes.
When did you move out?
I moved out in May, but I still paid that rent. We both did not physically move out until June, the beginning of June.
Okay, so nobody paid June's rent and nobody paid July's rent.
I paid June's. The lease actually goes through August.
So it's really just July and August,
Right.
2 months, not paid. Where were you working in February of 2003?
I was working for Manpower, and I have a letter stating the dates that I was employed through them.
Let me see the letter. Okay, so you worked for them until March of 2003.
Correct.
Who did you work for after March?
In May, I began working for...
Just a second. So you didn't work for anybody in April?
No, ma'am.
Who paid the rent in April?
I borrowed money from my older brother, and...
Show me.
I don't have that with me.
You weren't coming to a dance today, so you were coming to court. So who paid May's rent?
We both paid. We split it.
Could you split it if you weren't working?
I borrowed money from my brother.
Again, and you have no proof of that, is that right?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's talk about April and May's rent. Do you have proof that you paid it?
I have proof for May's.
That'll do.
I had to do money orders, and the rent was $5.95. There's one for $4.95 and one for $100.
Now, let's talk about the rent. He says he borrowed money from his brother. Is that true?
No, it is not. That is a lie.
Who paid the rent?
I did.
When he wasn't working?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mayers, I want you to start off with this premise, sir. The premise is that I do not believe you borrowed money from your brother to contribute to the rent. Okay?
Okay.
That she paid the rent for those 2 months because you were out of work. Now, there are 2 months left remaining on the lease. That's pretty much a quid pro quo. Pay it. We understand each other?
Right.
Good. Now let's talk about the furniture.
We both, when we first moved into the apartment, we went down to IKEA and we picked out furniture. So we went to go apply for an IKEA card. She was denied. She had overextended her credit, so I ended up having to put it on mine. And when she moved out, you know, I tried to, you know, work things out to where we both pay this bill off, but she ignored my phone calls. And
well, but you have the furniture.
she didn't want it. When she moved out, she just took the bed and that was it.
Go ahead, I'll hear you.
When we moved out, I stated to him that whoever takes the furniture should take the bill, and he told me he was taking everything.
Now, Ms. Reedy, I'm going to get to your counterclaim. You're entitled to nothing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you wrote in your answer, we lived together as a married couple. He was out of work for a while. You covered the rent. He moved out. He's got to pay the last 2 months. That's a wash. You understand?
Yes.
So, you got the furniture?
Yes, ma'am.
You pay the bill. She covered 2 months when you were out of work. You cover the last 2 months.
There's still utilities and I add on like the water bill and things
Listen
like
to me. For the months that you were out of work, she paid those bills.
She didn't pay all the bills by herself.
Well, sir, listen to me. You're not going to find a court that's going to go over an $11.95 bill and say, well, she didn't pay the whole thing. You were out of work. She covered the bills because I don't believe that you borrowed money from your brother. When she moved out, and she had no right to move out sticking you with the rent, if in fact you're going to pay the rent to the landlord and not make him chase you all over town, you cover that bill because she did when you needed her. Right? Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Yes, case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Fiala versus Parton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
You're home and your girlfriend goes out to a party. You get a call from her and she says, do me a favor, come pick me up, I'm ready to go home. So far correct?
Correct.
You're really irritated because you didn't go to the party because you had to get up early to go to work in the morning, and so, but is this the girlfriend?
Yes.
But you got up, you got out of bed, you got into your car, and you went to pick her up at the party. The defendant was at the party. It wasn't your house, was it?
It was my house.
It was your house. According to your complaint, for some reason, he got angry and kicked and dented your car.
Correct.
How many times did he kick your car?
There's 2 visible dents.
He kicked it twice.
Correct.
Mr. Parton says that he did, in fact, put his hands on your car, but he put his hands on your car because you were in a really foul mood and you tried to run him over. And he put his hands on the hood of your car in order to sort of give himself a little leverage to bounce off the car so that you wouldn't kill him, right?
Exactly.
So it was self-defense that you put your hands on the car.
Correct.
And didn't cause any damage.
Correct.
Let's start with date, time, and place. The date this happened, sir.
August 2nd,
Time you got the call from your girlfriend.
2 a.m.
Was it the plan for her to call you to come pick you up?
Just the plan was for her to...
Call you and you were
Call.
going to come and get her?
Yeah.
This was an important party, I assume.
Not important to me.
Were you going to work the next day?
Yes.
What day of the week was this?
This was a Saturday morning.
And what kind of work were you doing on Sunday?
I'm a morning stalker.
A morning stalker?
Yeah, S-T-O-C-K, not A-L-K.
Thank you. Jessica, this was an important party?
Not that important.
Important enough to get him out of bed when he has to go to work in the morning to come and pick you up?
Yes.
You think twice about marrying this girl, right? Would you do me that favor? Just think twice about it. She's not wrapped too tight. Or at least pretty immature. She got you up 2 o'clock in the morning. You got into your car. Was it a car?
Truck.
Truck. What kind of truck was it?
Ford Ranger.
And what did you do?
I was wearing just what I wear to bed, just football shorts, and I threw a sweatshirt on. I planned on going from my house to the party, drive her back up to her house, and then go down to work, so I had my shoes and stuff in the back of my truck.
What time do you have to be at work?
5 o'clock in the morning.
What'd you plan on doing from 2 to 5?
Probably going over to her house and just waiting there.
Well, that gives you a little extra impetus. Okay. So what happened when you got to the party?
I had showed up and
How come you and I are the only ones who get it? I don't know either. We've been together too long. Go ahead.
I didn't know where the house was, so I had called Jen a couple of times because I believe her cell phone was out of service. So I called Jen to get the...
Who's Jen?
Jen is this lady over here. Called Jen a couple of times to get the instructions to the house. By the time I was talking to Jen, I mean, everybody went to the party to get drunk, so everybody there was drunk. So I was talking to her when she was drunk. She wasn't really making any sense, and then she brought up something about our relationship that was like nothing to do with what we were talking about. So
What'd she say?
The fact that me and Jessica were having relationship problems. She said she didn't want to talk to me about it because she didn't like me right then or something. She said, even though I hate you, I still have you come pick up Jessica or something like that. I forget what the actual words were.
How old are all these people? How old are you?
I'm 20.
And she?
18.
And this one?
18.
And this one?
21.
What state do you live in?
California.
What's the drinking age here?
21.
21?
21.
Any of these people drinking at your house? Is not an answer. Is not an answer.
Well, I'm sure that there's definitely people drinking there, but...
No, I said any of these underage people drinking at your house is what I asked you.
Not that I recall, no.
I don't remember. I don't remember seeing either one of them with a cup in their hand.
Could you pick your pants up a little bit? I'm afraid they're going to fall off. Go ahead.
So that got heated, and I told Jen to shut up. I told her just plain out to be quiet.
No, you didn't tell her to be quiet. You told her to shut up.
Right, I told her...
Did you use any expletives deleted before you said shut up?
Yes.
That I believe.
Okay, well...
And I'm impressed by the fact that you actually understood what I was saying. Go ahead.
So I told her to shut up, and by that time I'd hung up the phone and I found out where I was going. I pulled up, and there was probably, counting the 2 girls, there was probably 5 or 6 people like standing on the curb waiting there, and they all had drinks in their hands. I had my door unlocked.
No, he only had a drink in one hand. He was holding his pants up with the other. Go ahead.
So I pulled up, I had the door unlocked for Jessica because I saw she was standing on the curb. Before she could walk to the car, another guy jumped in front of her, opened up the door, and said, do you want to stick around and party with us? And I said, I got to go to work in 2 hours, so I don't want to, and I really didn't want to hang out with the crowd in the first place. That's why I wasn't there.
I want to know what you said. Did you say no, thank you, but thanks for the invitation?
No.
What did you say? Come on.
They said, do you want to stick around? I'm like, no, I got to go to work in an hour.
Okay. That's what you said.
That's what I said.
Nothing more hostile than that.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So somebody said, what's his problem? And I looked looked over to the side, and Jessica was pulling the guy away from my door because he was advancing into my truck. Somebody hit my window from this side, and then the kick started coming in here. Jessica got in the car. I revved my engine. I took off forward because I had never taken my foot off the clutch. I was there for probably maybe 15 seconds. So my first initial thing to do was make some noise, so like nobody's ripping in my car, and so I.
They had already started to hit your car.
Yeah, well, I mean, ripping me out of my car and attacking me because I'm in my night clothes. So I had.
Well, no, so far nobody had touched you.
Well, they were advancing towards my car, and the other guy was pulling on my handle saying, "Open the door." Said,
You just added that in. Go ahead, keep
Okay,
going.
I'm sorry. So she got in the car, I revved my engine, and then back out of there and went home, and that was that.
How do you know that he kicked your car twice?
I watched him do it.
Can I see the marks on your car?
I think it's funny that he said he pushed off the front of my truck because even though there is a dent on the front of my truck that looks like a footprint, there's also a dent on the rear window that's a footprint. So he was putting his feet in two places that are 6 feet apart to kick off my truck.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He comes up the hill like this, and the tire goes over the curb, and I put my hands up to deflect it. That's right where my
I'll
hands
pay
would
for
have
my
gone.
other fender if you can do that
That's
too.
right
with
where
your hand.
that's right where it would have gone. If I can?
Yeah.
I can. I guarantee you I can.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danny Fiala says his girlfriend's friend, Josh Parton, kicked dents into the side of his truck.
Now, your girlfriend, after she got off the phone with Mr.
Fiala.
She came in and told you that he had cursed at her, is that right?
Correct.
You are
Jennifer?
Jennifer. Jennifer and Jessica. I gotta keep, right? Gotta keep these straight. Step up here. Jessica.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. I feel like they have the hair the same. You're not twins, are you?
No.
When you told Mr. Parton that you had had a conversation with the plaintiff, what did you tell him that the plaintiff said to you?
I said that he didn't want to come up and that he told me that he was going to like beat me up or something. I don't really remember exactly, but I remember he's saying mean things to me.
He said mean things to you?
Yeah, because he's in a bad mood and I was bringing up stuff I shouldn't have brought up.
And did he curse at you?
I believe so.
And did he threaten you?
Yes.
And you told that to your boyfriend?
Yes.
Before he arrived, is that right?
Yes.
Where were you when you took the call from the plaintiff? Were you inside his apartment or outside?
I was walking down the walkway,
What were you doing?
talking on the phone to him because I knew he was about to pull up.
He called first. And he called you the first time you were in the
Oh,
house.
yes. Well,
Pay
but then-
attention. Now, why were you walking outside when you answered the phone the second time?
To walk Jessica down to Danny's truck because I knew that he was pulling up.
Why were all these other people with you?
I asked Josh to come
Why?
to walk with me and to introduce him, and then his friends just followed. I didn't ask them to come.
When you asked, so you just asked Josh to come to introduce him
Yes.
because you hadn't had any bad words with him yet, right?
Correct.
Actually, she wanted me to go down there and introduce myself and make him feel comfortable to want to come inside and stay because she wanted Jessica to stay longer.
But by the time he got there, your girlfriend had already told you that he had cursed at her, correct?
Well, yeah, beforehand.
That he had threatened her, right?
Right.
That he made her feel bad, right?
That's what she told me, right? But at the same time,
And that he did all those things. And you're telling me that you greeted him when he pulled up in the truck and wanted to introduce yourself to him and make him feel comfortable so that he would come back to the party. Is that what you said?
even he said that was the first thing that we said to him when he came up, right? I mean, because whether or not she's being mean to her on the phone, if she asked him to go down there and make someone feel comfortable to want to come in and chill, then why would I not?
She
do
wasn't
that?
asking you to make him feel comfortable anymore after he cursed at her and threatened her that he was going to beat her up, Mr. Parton. What are you kidding? All right. Now, how many people came downstairs?
It was me, her, Jessica, and two of my other friends.
Two of your other friends. What are their names?
Josh.
Is not an answer.
Josh and Ryan.
How do you know Ryan?
He lives next door.
How old is he?
19 or 20.
And Josh, how do you know Josh?
Well, he was next door too.
Josh work or go to school?
Doesn't do either.
How old is he?
At least 21 because you can buy alcohol. He's at least 21.
So you had two people there who could buy alcohol, you and Josh, is that right?
And many other, probably everyone
No,
else
you just
doesn't.
told me that I asked you who was there. You told me. One,
No, you said
two,
who went down to
three,
the car.
who went downstairs to the car. Well,
Right.
that's what I'm asking.
There was more people inside, that was what I'm
There
saying.
were you, 21, the owner of the premises where the alcohol was served. Two, Josh, not the owner of the premises where the alcohol was served. And two minors
Right.
who had both been drinking, right?
Yes.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
What else? Because you hesitated for a minute. What else?
Well, just beer.
Why would you hesitate if I said, what are you drinking? You said,
Because I had to think about it. I don't remember I've drinking other stuff. That one night was just beer.
what were you drinking?
Beer.
Anything else?
I had a Bloody Mary.
So there was other liquor there other than just beer. Now, why don't you explain to me, Mr. Parton, how it came about that you put your hands on the plaintiff's car?
Well, it's funny that you asked, because that's the last thing that he forgot to mention in his little statement, was that after she did get inside the car, he backed up and then came charging at us at least twice, trying to hit us. His tire came over the curb and tried to hit us.
Really?
So, like you said in the beginning, if someone's coming at you, I'm going to put my hands out to deflect myself, and that happens to be on the right side. On the, if you look on the picture, I was standing on my sidewalk. It goes down like this. If he comes up the hill like this, then if he's comes and the tire goes over the curb and I put my hands out to deflect it, that's right where my hands would have gone.
I'll pay for my other fender if you can do that.
That's right where that's right where it would have gone. If I can?
Yeah.
I can. I guarantee you I can.
Step up. Did you see your boyfriend try to run anybody over that night?
He did like a burnout. Sorry.
What's a burnout?
Like you rev the engine kind of to like get them away from his truck.
Yes.
And then he went forward and then he reversed and we left.
He went forward
At us.
at them.
Well, he was, I don't know, revving. It was like on a hill and it would stick.
Did you see anyone surround the car when you got in the car and make a move towards your boyfriend to try to get him out of the car?
Yes.
Who did that?
I'm not sure. I didn't know them.
Well, there weren't that many people down there, madam.
I just remember I pulled one guy out of the truck because I wanted to get in the passenger seat. I don't know who he was though.
Who was that?
I don't have no idea. I don't have any idea.
Well, it's either Josh or Ryan.
I don't remember. It wasn't me. I mean, I'm the one that's being sued. If someone else is climbing in their car, you should be suing them, right?
How much did you have to drink?
Shoot. Honestly, I don't remember.
And how was it that Josh and Ryan accompanied you outside?
Maybe they wanted to help me introduce myself to him. Maybe they were happy to just be out smoking a cigarette and someone pulls up and I honestly don't remember. I didn't tell if what you're looking for is if I asked them to accompany me. That's not. I did not ask them to accompany me. I swear to God, I didn't.
Maybe she did.
Well, I did. I know I didn't.
Was she crying when she spoke to you about how nasty he was on the phone?
Nope.
Just annoyed.
The last thing that she said was not, he's calling me names. The last thing that she said to me was go out there, introduce yourself to him, and make him feel comfortable so that Jessica will want to stay longer.
Somebody who just cursed her and threatened to beat her up? That's what she said.
That's what she said.
She must have had a lot to drink.
Or just wanted her friend to stay.
Can I see the estimate for this dent on the side of your car? Mr. Parton, there was a big party going on. Everybody at the party had a little too much to drink. I'm not saying that I condone somebody revving up their car, but I believe that your girlfriend told you that she had been insulted by the plaintiff. He's the only sober one there. He's coming there for the sole purpose of picking up his girlfriend. He hasn't been partying all night. His car got damaged. He says it got damaged as a result of you kicking it. You say it got damaged as a result of you putting your hands on the car. I have to make a judgment as to who I believe and whether or not this damage to this car, in my judgment, can be done or was done by somebody who's pushing off with their hand or somebody who kicked it. I vote for the kick. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think he's made.
Obviously, that dent wasn't put there by a hand pushing off my truck, so
I think he was scared the whole time.
just don't hang around with these kind of people.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Daggett versus Martinez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Marcy Daggett is suing dog groomer Angelina Martinez for the value of a Yorkshire Terrier. Marcy says while Angelina was pet sitting, the dog ran away.
Miss Daggett, I assume you knew Miss Martinez before you asked her to dog sit for your two Yorkies. Is that right?
This was the third time that she'd watched them, and
She'd watched them before, so...
Right.
You brought the dogs over there?
Yes.
For how long?
It was an indefinite time.
What do you mean indefinite? I don't understand.
Because our dogs had been barking and bothering the neighbors, and we weren't really sure what we should do with our dogs, or how to train them, or what to do with them, and Angelina was going to watch them while we decided what to do with them.
And according to your complaint, one of the dogs got out. Or one of the dogs is gone, lost, stolen, dug a hole under the fence, according to the defendant, and is gone, and you want to be compensated for that dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
What happened to her dog?
At 4:30, I let the dog and two of my dogs outside to go potty, and 5:15, I brought them back inside, and I couldn't find Zoe. And she's real small, so sometimes she runs in and, hides underneath the bed or under there. So I thought she had run in the house. And I had to go to my son's back to school night, so we left real quick and then came back and started looking for Zoe. And it was about an hour time lapse from that. And we started looking for her, we realized that she wasn't in the house at all, or in the backyard.
So when you didn't see her, you went out anyway?
Yeah.
It's such an easy case. They should all be this easy. How much did you pay for Zoe?
$850.
You don't have a bill of sale, do you?
I have the canceled check.
Okay, let's see it. How old was she?
Just over a year, about a year and 3 months.
Okay, you want to explain to me why, Miss Martinez, you don't feel as if you're responsible minimally for what Miss Daggett paid for her dog?
Well, I have a copy of the purchase agreement of her dog, and there is no price for it.
Well, let me see it. Go ahead.
And so I offered to replace the dog with another dog of greater value. At that time, she was not ready for another dog.
I have a check dated the same day as the puppy sale agreement. The check is a canceled check for $850.
I also have a bill of sale for the male that she bought the same day, and it says $680.
Well, that may be, but females are usually more expensive.
Right.
So you mean it's just the cost of the dog that you question, is that right?
Right.
Okay, well, don't question it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $850, that's all.
Parties action. The answer is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Dubois versus Clevenger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
All right, I'm a little confused, so I have to try to clarify a few issues in my own mind. Ms. Dubois, the defendant is the former wife of your current boyfriend. And you were living with your boyfriend, is this boyfriend? Mark. In a home that was previously the marital home, is that right? Ms. Clevenger filed an application for a protective order on behalf of herself and her daughter after an alleged incident involving you and her teenage daughter. That was filed in what month and year?
September 2002.
Now, Ms. Clevenger was in fact given a protective order for 12 months?
12 months.
And when was that protective order signed?
September 25th, 2002.
That order excluded you from the house?
When the children were there.
When the children were there. It excluded you when the daughter was there. Sometime later, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Dismissed, yeah.
When was that?
I'm not sure, maybe a month or two later. 7 months later, ma'am.
I thought, according to the papers that I read, it was in March of 2003.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in March of 2003, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Yeah.
At that time, the judge told you, you can't have it vacated. You have to wait until it's over, which is another 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. While you were both in court outside near the clerk's office, there was an incident, according to you, involving Mr. and Mrs. Clevenger, but you claim that she filed a violation petition against you, claiming that you had in fact threatened her. Were you arrested?
I was.
And you were taken into custody. Ultimately, that charge was dismissed. Now, am I correct that what you are suing for is not the original protective order, but suing for the false charge that you claim that the defendant made with regard to the violation of the order of protection?
Actually, both.
Well, you can't file for both. So that's what I have to explain to you right from the get-go. A judge has granted her an order of protection. I do not look behind that to see whether or not the judge made a mistake or not. I'm not an appeals court for a judge. If the subsequent case after the March incident, when the judge denied the application, and I will find out what that is about, that is something that I can hear. Now, Ms. Clevenger has a counterclaim. Your counterclaim says that because she filed the petition to vacate the order of protection, you had to get a lawyer. Then you had to go back to court with regard to this second case, and you had to miss a lot of days' work because of all of this order of protection stuff. And that's what you're suing for. It's nonsense. You initiated the protective order. You don't get paid for that. Do you understand? Okay. I mean, I don't know what else there is. You have no claim for anything else.
I wrote down there for strangling my daughter. My daughter's been in intense therapy. Heroin was shot into her.
Listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't say anything about heroin in your case here. You say that your daughter was held down and strangled by the plaintiff.
No, she was shoved and she was picked up by her throat.
Okay. I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
What's your daughter's name?
Sydney Clevenger.
Do you see Sydney, sir?
Yes, I do.
How often? Stand up.
Yeah, should stand up then.
How often?
Pretty much every weekend.
Okay. She comes to your home?
Yes.
Does she have any contact with the plaintiff?
No, by order.
By order of the court?
Yes.
She's fine?
Very fine.
She's fine with you?
Very much so.
And your daughter is a teenager?
Yes.
She knows that you have a relationship with Mr. Dubois?
Yes.
She knows that she lives with you when Sydney isn't there?
She actually does not live with me.
She doesn't live with you anymore?
No.
But she knows that you are still in a relationship?
Yes.
And she doesn't hold that against you and say to you, by God, she strangled me, she assaulted me, how could you possibly have anything to do with it? She doesn't say that to you?
Occasionally she does at the beginning of this incident, but it's gone away pretty much.
Were you there when this alleged incident took place?
No.
These two ladies didn't get along?
My daughter and her?
Yeah.
At her instigating,
Well, that's what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing your counterclaim with regard to this strangulation. She's fine. Now, let's get to your lawsuit with regard to the false charge that inspired the violation of the protective order, which caused you to be arrested. Let's get to the arrest itself. I want you to tell me where that took place.
At my place of work.
Who came to your place of employment?
2 sheriffs.
Had you gotten any previous notice of it?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
And when did they come to your place of employment?
This original supposed breaking was 2 weeks after the September event, and then in March was when I was arrested.
You mean the alleged breach of the protective order was in September?
Yes, the same day we went to court on the 25th when she got the original permit.
Can I see the complaint for the violation? Ms. Clevenger, the date you went to court on the petition for a protective order, you claimed that after you left court, she violated the order.
Yeah, it's all right here.
You claimed that she violated the order.
They both violated it in the clerk's office.
Did you have a protective order against him?
There's been one against him.
Was it ongoing at that time?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so you filed against both of them?
Not on September 25th. It was the protection order was filed for Eden Clevenger, Sydney Clevenger, and myself. It was signed on September 25th.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, madam. The violation that you allege happened the same date that you got a final order of protection.
Yes.
And it happened outside of the courtroom, inside the clerk's office. And it is your claim that both of them had orders of protection against them at that time, both your former husband and his girlfriend.
I know I got one that day for Miss Dubois, and we went up to the clerk's office.
So he didn't have one?
I believe he did from a while back, from March.
Did you or not?
No, I didn't.
No.
I thought we did have one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, she used the F word.
Really? Let me see whether you say to the police that she said that to you. You don't. Do you mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Dubois says her fiancé's ex-wife, Vicki Clevenger, falsely accused her of assaulting her daughter. Deborah also claims Vicki falsely charged her with violating a restraining order.
The only thing that this police report says is that the police contacted Patty in the clerk's office, and she said she and Susie had heard Clevenger begin to talk loudly, telling someone to go away and leave her alone. So it's clear that nobody in the clerk's office, based upon the police report, could verify anything except that you were talking loudly. This was in September. Does anybody know why they did not come to arrest this lady until March?
I do.
Why?
Because the address that was placed on the police report was my old address when she knew full well I lived with Mark. So the summons got delivered to the house, and I never received it. The post office returned it. And then, since I didn't go to court, they issued a bench warrant, I guess, and picked me up when they figured out where I was.
Between September, when you filed this,
On September 25th.
and March, did you have any other contact with the plaintiff?
No.
So it's clear that the plaintiff was not doing anything to bother you between September and March. Is that right?
She bothered me in the clerk's office that day.
Did you hear what I said? I want you to pay attention
Yes,
to what
ma'am.
I said.
Yes.
Between September and March, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. She doesn't have anything to do with you. She's not in the house when your daughter is there. So why didn't you withdraw this complaint that you had made?
I had no idea that they forwarded it to the prosecutor's office, and the only address on the police report is the 35528 where she was living at. I never gave a wrong address. I've never known where she's lived.
Yes, you did. You knew she lived, just a second.
Yeah, and it's on the police report.
That you knew she lived with your former husband.
It's on the front of the police report, the address. I gave the detective.
Okay. I just want to know whether between September and March you had any other conversations with any members of the police department or the prosecutor's office.
I did not get a call from the prosecutors till March. The advocate's office called me for domestic violence.
This was before she was arrested.
I'm not sure if it was before or after. I think it all happened after she was, because they sent me a letter in the mail. So I had no idea that they were even pursuing this.
Tell me what happened in the clerk's office.
I went up to the clerk's office and I was standing in line. They proceeded to walk into the clerk's office.
Because each of you had to get a copy of the protective order.
Right, and I was I was in line in front of them. And then I had to scoot over to another line, and they were verbally abusing me.
Tell me what they said.
They said I was a nutcase, I'm a psycho, they just really verbally abused me.
Who's they?
These two.
I want you to tell me who said what.
Mark Clevenger and Deborah Dubois were standing in line humiliating me.
That's a conclusion. I want you to tell me what he said.
You'll never get the kids. This is not going to work. This is going to be dismissed. You're a nutcase. You're a psychopath. Nobody's ever going to believe you.
Okay, so that's what he said. Well, now I want you to tell me what she said.
Do I have to say these words?
Yes.
She called me a psycho. This'll never. They both just.
No. Don't confuse one with the other. Listen to me very carefully. She didn't repeat exactly the same thing he said, so I assume.
She used the F word.
And what did she say? Really? Let me see.
I did not say.
Let me see whether you say to the police in your complaint that she said that to you. You don't.
I don't want to use
You told
that
the
word.
police that they told her you're a nutcase, you're a psycho, this will never work, you'll never get the kids.
And there's.
You didn't say the
This is in
F
police
word.
report.
You didn't say anything else. When this first happened, September 25th, you mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now? No. They may have said things to you. They are not a unit. If your ex-husband was saying these things to you and they were standing together, they cannot be construed to be one person. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. And I don't believe the other baloney that you just gave me because it's not in your police report that you filed the same day as the incident happened.
Too humiliated to file.
I don't believe you, Miss Clevenger.
Okay.
I don't believe that. Because I believe that if you are smart enough to go for a protective order, you list everything that happens, you want the police and the court to know the most venal of things that happened, so you would report it. It's not that you were humiliated, it's not that you were frightened, because you knew to go to the police immediately, and you would tell them everything. Now, so don't embellish to me. What happened is, she made this complaint because she got very angry at what went on in the clerk's office. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe that it probably did. That there were words in the clerk's office, Ms. Dubois. I don't know whether the words came from you or came from him. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit of both. She was angry, so she went to the police. That was in September. They didn't act on it. Unfortunately, somebody had a day when they didn't have a whole lot of work to do, and they found you. I don't know how they found you at work. Do you know how they found you?
They went to my original address that she gave him, and my ex-boyfriend said she's at work.
Okay. Now, what happened when you went to court on this violation petition?
It was completely dismissed because she cannot get a domestic violence restraining order against me with her name on it. She could on behalf of the children, but the fact that she added in her name and everything was totally illegal. Can I say one other thing, too?
Sure.
If you noticed, the police report was filed 6 hours later in a different police station because she'd found out he was going to take her back to court, so...
Listen to me.
All anger.
Listen to me. There were words that transpired in the clerk's office. I believe that one or both of you was so furious and said things that you probably shouldn't have in the clerk's office. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Clevenger?
Absolutely.
Okay. And she seized the moment and acted upon it. Did she do the wrong thing? She should have let it go. Because the people that ultimately suffer with regard to that are the children. And I would assume that since you have regular contact with your children, that this has created a strain between the two of you.
I actually have custody of one of my daughters, but...
Which child?
The oldest one, Eden.
How old is Eden?
Just turned 16.
Did you have custody of your daughter, too, for a period of time?
For the past 6 years, full custody.
And it wasn't until after this incident that Sydney went back to her mother, is that right?
Yes, it was a stepping stone to modify the custody.
And so that's been for about a year?
Yes.
That Sydney's been with her mother?
Yes.
Don't throw out her bed.
Oh, I will not. It's already made.
What?
1997, Mark and I resided together till 2002. We shared full custody with each other. I moved out of the house October 2000. Then he moved all these people in the house and then moved her in.
Madam.
He didn't have custody. We shared custody. I lived with him. We were a unit.
Is your older child living with him on a full-time basis?
Yes.
And your younger daughter... Shh. Listen to me very carefully. And your younger daughter, immediately preceding September of 2002, I don't care if it was for an hour or for a week or for a month, she lived with her father.
We shared the kids equally.
I don't believe that. Do you have an order?
Yeah,
I'd like to see the order. Immediately prior to September of 2002.
Yeah, I had him prior.
Let me...
The order that was set in 97, but we got back together for 6 years.
Did you hear what I said? I said immediately prior to September of 2002. I don't care if it's a week or a month. Let me see the order where you share 50-50 custody.
I was living in the house. We both had 50-50. I moved out.
You are not living in the house July of 2002, right?
I moved out October 1st, 2001.
You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. I said immediately preceding September of 2002, you were not living with your former husband, and your daughter was not living with you full-time.
She was.
And you said
4 days a week.
And I said, let me see the order.
We never went by the order.
I said, let me see the order.
I don't have that order. I mean, we shared the kids.
I'd like to see the order. Can I see the order, Bird? She has the order.
This is the parenting plan.
Not after.
It's not after, it's what was in effect.
We never went by that.
Can I just see the order, please? This schedule provides that upon enrollment in school, the children shall reside with their father.
That was in 1997.
I don't care what it is. That's what the order is.
But we did.
That's what the order is. This is an order where you had full custody of the children. She had visitation. Okay, listen to me. I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm sorry I can't help you for the following reason. She had a right to go in and file for a violation of this protective order because she, in her mind, said, you violated the order by saying nasty things to me. When I say you, she's talking about the cumulative you. And I would assume that both of you had some things to say standing on line. I'm not going to revisit that. I think that her violation petition was probably dismissed in the entirety because the order of protection was not for her. It was on behalf of Sydney, who was a minor, and perhaps she didn't understand that. I think she has a problem understanding things, period. So I'm sorry that you suffered by virtue of this, but you should have kept your mouth shut in the clerk's office, sir. It would have been the smarter and wiser thing to do, because then she would have had absolutely no basis whatsoever to go in and file this. Ms. Clevenger, you have absolutely no basis to counterclaim, no basis for your lawsuit.
Excuse me, this order was, it says the petitioner and her children on this September 25th.
Can I ask you a question? Are you not hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
I just dismissed the case against
Thank you.
and I told you that you have no basis to sue her. You were the person who filed for a protective order, and she is perfectly within her rights to try to go into court and say there was no basis for it. I want a rehearing, and if you had to hire a lawyer and lose days from work going into court, you precipitated it. So that's what happens. Goodbye.
21-year-old student Lindsay Highland is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Eddie Rubio, and his friend, 22-year-old Jason Johnson, for wrecking a car that was rented in her name.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Highland versus Rubio Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Highland, you did a very, very stupid thing that I'm sure you'll never do again, which is that you allowed both of these gentlemen to use your credit card for the purposes of renting a car. There was an accident. I understand the accident wasn't their fault, according to their answer, but you still got stuck with the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want them to reimburse you for that bill.
Yes, ma'am.
They say you should have gotten insurance, right?
Yes.
Which one of these gentlemen do you know?
Eddie, the one in the blue.
How do you know Eddie?
Me and Eddie have been dating. We started dating in September.
Are you still dating?
No.
When did you stop dating?
We stopped dating about 3 weeks after the accident.
And tell me about the request to use your credit card and when that was.
Around the last week of February, Eddie approached me concerning their Mardi Gras trip. They said they had all their plans taken care of, but the matter of a rental car was the problem. They said that they couldn't rent a car because none of them had a credit card. So
how did they get a room for Mardi Gras? How did you get a room, Eddie?
We stayed with the sister.
And there were 3 of you going?
Yes, there was.
And none of you had a credit card?
None of us.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Well, ma'am, I did have a credit card. It's just we went to the airport to rent one, and they said I had to be 23 years of age, so they wouldn't let me.
Oh.
But I had one.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
How old are you?
21.
How come it was okay for her to rent a car using her credit card?
They went to a different location than I went to.
Why didn't you go to the same location she went to?
I had no means of transportation.
Your Honor, I offered to take all of the guys to the rental place with me. Eddie was the only one who decided to go. Jason decided to stay in bed. He didn't want to go there.
Were you living together?
No. We lived close by each other. Those two were living together at the time.
Okay. So you went to a rental place, and which rental place did you go to?
Enterprise.
Who went? You?
Myself and Eddie.
Let me see the paperwork that you filled out. And who filled it out?
I did.
And when she filled out the paperwork, Eddie, where were you?
I was right beside her.
Did you put him down as a driver?
I put all of them down as a driver.
Authorized drivers over 21. No, it doesn't list anybody else's name.
She didn't ask me. She said, are all the guys going to be driving? I said, yes, ma'am.
You got to be more careful.
Yes, ma'am.
But he was there.
He was
right?
Yes, I was.
And you were watching her fill this out?
Yes, I was.
And you saw that she declined any insurance?
No, I didn't.
Well, then you should have looked more carefully.
Ma'am, we discussed in my house that we were going to get the insurance. And we had already figured the price in for the insurance. So when they went, she had the money. So we knew that there was going to be insurance. So there was no need to ask after that.
Go ahead. Your Honor, at the time when we went to rent the car, none of them had very much money. I lent Eddie $200 to make the trip.
Is that right, Eddie?
Yes, she did.
Go ahead. And when the lady asked me, she said, would you like insurance? And I looked at Eddie, I said, you'll be driving the car, it'll be in your possession. He said, we can't afford it, we don't need it. Did you say that to her?
No, I didn't, ma'am.
Just say you weren't there, right?
No, ma'am.
Move over. And don't open your mouth again, and take your hands away from your pockets. Don't open your mouth again, because you weren't there, because you didn't get out of bed.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't open your mouth again until I ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You were standing there and you saw her fill out this form where she declined insurance. There is no question in my mind that if you didn't watch her, you should have.
I thought she got the insurance.
I don't care what you thought. What'd you go there with her for?
Because we needed to get the car, and it just went. She wanted someone to go with her, and I did. I thought she had insurance. I thought she...
You're supposed to know. And I believe her when she says that she said to you, and you said, we don't have that much money. They'll be fine.
No, I didn't, man.
Especially since you didn't even have enough money to go on the trip.
I loaned some money. I paid her back.
No, you didn't loan. You borrowed.
Borrowed some money.
How much money did they give you for the car?
Eddie and Jason gave me $90 apiece, and they said that they were going to pay the rest when they got back. We didn't have to pay for the car until we returned it.
What about the third person?
No.
So they didn't even have enough money to give you the entire amount of money before they went?
No.
You're really not smart. You'll never do it again.
No, ma'am.
And you will certainly tell all your friends, letting anybody else rent a car on their credit card is the dumbest thing that you can do.
Yes, Your
Well,
Honor.
among the dumbest things that you can do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who was driving?
Ryan,
Where is he?
he's not here.
He was afraid to fly.
No, my dear, he was afraid of me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Highland says ex-boyfriend Eddie Rubio and his friend Jason Johnson owe for a wrecked car. Lindsay says the vehicle was rented with her credit card.
You took a chance. You lost. Why should she get stuck with your problem? What do you do for a living?
I'm a student
A student where?
at Upper Iowa University.
When are you graduating?
Next year.
Why is it taking you so long?
I just took a year off college.
Why did you take off a year?
I just wanted to take off a year. Didn't feel like going to school for the year, so I took it off.
Who's paying for your school now?
Financial aid and loans. But when we got the car, I told her to get the insurance because I've been through it in the past.
No.
And I had
No,
insurance.
sweetheart. You did not tell her to get the insurance because it was too much money. It would have practically doubled the cost of the car to get the insurance. You didn't even have enough money to give her for the rental car to begin with. And even if you said to her, get the insurance, you were standing right there. You have a mouth. You say to her, Lindsay, I told you we must have the insurance. I'm not taking the car out without the insurance. You can say that, can't you? And I want you to repeat after me. Lindsay, I'm not taking the car out without the insurance.
I'm not taking the car out without the
See how easy that was?
I did do it.
No. But so, I'm not taking the car out without insurance. Here it is the paperwork. Even after you took a year off from college, you didn't lose the first 3 years, so I assume you can read English. Is that right, Eddie?
Yes, I can.
So that you have an opportunity to look at the paperwork before you put it in the car, right?
Correct.
The fact that you didn't, that's your problem.
We didn't find out until we got in the accident.
Listen to me, Eddie. You're not following what I'm saying to you. You were there with her. Lindsay, I'm not taking the car out without the insurance. You look at the paperwork, which you keep in the car, because you have to keep the paperwork in the car, right, Eddie?
Yes.
And you say, I can't take this car out, it doesn't have insurance. I'm not obligating myself. I'm leaving the car here. What do you want?
They told me that that I could just use my insurance. If anything happened, I could just put it on my insurance.
Who told you that?
The guys. They were all aware that there was no insurance.
I believe that they were... Now, Eddie, tell me about the accident.
We were coming back, and in Jackson, Mississippi, there was a semi that...
Give me whole sentences. There's a semi what?
Semi
means half. There's a half.
No,
What you talk to me is about a half. There was a half that what?
There was a semi-truck that ran us off the road. We hit the embankment and then came back and hit it again. We had a flat tire, so we couldn't chase him. So he just left, and they...
Just a second. So a truck hit you. Let me get this. Truck hit you, and then after it hit you, it came back and it hit you again?
Well, we hit the side rail, and it came back, and we met again.
Oh, okay. It didn't come back to hit you purposely for the second time. Is that right?
Correct.
Go ahead.
So it was considered a hit and run. So it wasn't our fault. So why should we pay if she should have got the insurance?
May I speak?
Who was driving?
Ryan.
Where is he?
He's not here. He didn't show up.
He was afraid to fly. And he told...
No, my dear, he was afraid of me.
Yes.
All right. Move over. What do you want?
Ma'am, I did have enough money for the insurance because I was going to use my credit card to rent the car. So we went and found out the first time I had enough on my card. I just was not of age.
Listen to me. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I coulda rented the car on my credit card. I woulda if I got out of bed. And I coulda because I had enough money. But you didn't, right?
No, ma'am.
How much did this cost you?
$7,800. And Your Honor, this has gone on my credit, and I'm in
Just a second. So have you paid it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So the money has to go to Enterprise.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so you're suing for the maximum allowable in this code, which is $5,000, but whatever recovery that you make, the check will be made payable to Enterprise. Okay.
And this is now affecting my financial aid, and I may not be able to finish my senior year of college.
No. Next time, we'll think twice about, being foolish. It's certainly not affecting his last year of college, and it looks to me as if you're going to get a lot more out of your last year of college than Eddie. You can move back now. The two of you were responsible because you had an agreement with her. Your agreement was that you were going to rent this car. She was merely providing the mechanism for you to do that. You had the opportunity to use his credit card, chose not to do that. You used hers. You had knowledge of the fact that insurance was declined. You chose to drive the car anyway. This is your problem, not hers. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
All these are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad that she saw that I made a mistake, but that they were ultimately responsible.
I feel bad, but it's her fault. She should have got the insurance.
He refused to pay me back. He said that it was my problem, and he understands we're going out, but he can't afford it, and I signed the paper, so it was my problem.
That little bit of trip.
35-year-old family support officer Monica Mathias and her husband, 40-year-old aircraft mechanic Joseph Mathias, are suing 39-year-old roofing contractor Glenn Matheson. The Mathiases claim Glenn's workers tortured their dog during a job at their house.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 29 on the calendar in the matter of Mathias versus Matheson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Mathias, you hired the defendant's firm to re-roof your home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you claim that in the process of working in your home, they tortured your dog.
That's correct.
They entered your home without your permission, or someone entered your home without your permission. Nothing was taken, but you were forced to put new locks on the doors and windows. And you want the defendant to return the price of all the roofing materials that you paid for the house and for your aggravation.
Correct.
Okay. The defendant said his people didn't do anything and he should be paid for his work. I assume you were paid for your work, is that right?
No, I haven't been paid at all.
You haven't been paid at all?
No.
Okay. We'll see. What was the total cost of the job?
Total cost of the job after the second invoice was $7,597.
Can I see it, please? Did you give him any deposit?
No, ma'am.
So you gave him nothing?
No.
Did this price include the materials?
Yes, ma'am.
It did?
Yes, it did.
So you have paid for neither materials nor the roof?
I've paid for the materials, yes.
Who did you pay for the materials?
His supplier.
How much did you pay for his materials?
$2,400.
And is the material money that you want back?
Yes.
Okay. When were you supposed to pay him the balance?
I told him that I'd pay the balance after a person of the court told me to do so on good conscience. I cannot, after what happened.
Okay. Now, you were not at home when this work was done.
I arrived home at 3 o'clock and 2/3 of the job was complete.
You have, I assume, a witness who saw what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the witness? I assume you're the witness. Step up, please. Tell me your name.
My name's Karen Dick.
Are you a neighbor?
Yes, I am.
How far away from the plaintiff's house is your house?
They live directly across the street.
Would you tell me what you saw on that day?
Yeah, typically I get up in the morning and I prepare dinner for the kids. So I got out and I noticed out the window that we have over the sink that the neighbors were having their roof done. I went on about my business, and then as I'm looking out the window, I was at the sink doing something. I noticed there was a sort of a large dog. It wasn't a big dog. It was tall, but it wasn't too big. I didn't really recognize it. I've only been in the home with my boyfriend about 8 months, so I hadn't really met the neighbors. I've only said hello to them. I noticed a dog was on Joe's front lawn, kind of in the middle of about 5 gentlemen who it seemed like they were just kind of scurrying the dog. I didn't know if maybe the dog got out. They were concerned this dog's interfering with their work, if they were nervous. A few minutes later, I came back to the sink. I now noticed 2 of the workers have hammers in their hand and they're swinging at the dog. The gates open, so I realized that the workers must have let the dog out. So at first I think maybe they're just trying to intimidate the dog.
What kind of gate was it? Was it a fenced yard?
It's a fenced yard, yes.
And you saw that
it was open, yes.
Now, when you saw them swinging these hammers, none of the blows connected with the dog?
I did not see that, no.
Okay.
As I'm watching, though, the dog's showing no aggression, so that wasn't the issue. And the dog is kind of scurrying back, and it's sitting back on its back legs. So it was surrendering. They could have easily put it back. At this point, now they're playing a game. The hammers are getting closer to the heads. They're laughing. They're smiling. They're going to hit that dog. So I'm screaming hysterically at the top of my lungs, please stop. What are you doing? And they get my attention, so I'm standing there to make sure they understand I'm standing there watching this. At this point, the 2 men walk away, and the dog's still there. I go back into the home, and my boyfriend's mother, who's about 82, comes into the house, and I'm trying to explain to her, because her English isn't great, I'm trying to explain to her what's going on, and I'm looking out over her shoulder. At this point, I see one of the 2 gentlemen with a rope in his hand starting to do this, and I know what he's going to do. And I'm watching this, and before I can react, he's already got the dog by the 2 back legs, he's yanked the rope, and by yanking the rope so hard, he forced the dog to flip over on the back side, and from the left side of Joe's house all the way to the front side, to the far right side of Joe's house, through the street, not on the side, but through the street, he drugged the dog on the dog's back.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm fine.
Was there when he did that to the dog, when he tied the dog's back legs, were they still right near the fenced-in yard?
No. Thank you. The gentleman that had the rope was standing in the street when he picked up the rope, because he's walking down.
So the dog had moved?
The dog really hadn't really moved. The dog was still in the grass, from what I recall. He's still kind of on the grass. He hasn't really gone anywhere. The gentleman takes the rope, and he's walking this way. So he had gone down, I don't know if it's truck, I couldn't see from my window, but he was coming back. And when he came into my view, that's when he had the rope in his hand, and that's where he took the rope to the dog's legs. As he dragged the dog through the street, that's when I ran back outside, and I wanted to make my presence completely known that I'm watching this and I'm seeing who's doing this. Because he's tugged the rope so tight, there was no way for the dog to break free for quite some time.
How did the dog
Just by wiggling and wiggling and wiggling. At this point, the dog was able to run up to the front porch, and as I'm walking, because I'm moving this way, to see what's going on, the dog, I could see him burrow into the corner on the porch to just be left alone. The gentleman who had the rope walks up and kind of goes down and starts trying to get the dog to be nice. And I'm thinking, if you've done all this to the dog and you're not scared of the dog at this point, how could anyone even conceivably say that you were just intimidated by this dog, and that's why you did any of this to get the dog back in the backyard? There was no intimidation by this dog. So I'm just standing there. I'm not going to leave until I can see this dog put back in the backyard. Eventually the man does sit there, he pets with the dog, and he picks the dog up, and he does eventually put the dog in the backyard, close the door. I go in the house, and I don't know what to do. Again, I don't know the neighbors that well. I'm thinking, should I call the police? I don't want to stir something up, call the police, and then have a problem with the neighbors. So I'm thinking it's better for me to advise them first. I have to go to work, so I call my boyfriend, tell him what's going on, to please make sure that they're aware of what happened, to let them know when I come home from work, I will fill him in on the details. After I'd done that, I noticed the truck was open, and I saw the phone number, so I called the number to see if I could talk to the owner of the company to tell him to please come out, and I would speak to him personally. When I called, the gentleman said that I'd have to leave my phone number, someone would have to call me back, and I wasn't comfortable with that. So I figure it's better for me to let things be until I get home to bring this out. And then that evening, that's when I went over and spoke to the Mathiases and told them what I had seen.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monica and Joseph Mathias claim employees of contractor Glenn Matheson tortured their dog. The Mathiases say the workers hogtied their pet.
You also claim, Mr. Mathias, that the house was open.
Yes, it was.
Do you have a witness to that?
I have a witness from our mail carrier that said that she delivered...
No, you don't have a witness. If you
you're correct. I do not have a witness. I have a letter from the mail carrier. Okay, the mail carrier stated to me...
You can't tell me what the mail carrier stated. Okay. You can't give me a letter. I have to see a witness testify. You see, testimony is powerful. I can make a determination as to credibility, etc. There's no question that there was no property taken from your house.
I don't believe there was, no.
Good. You weren't there that day?
No, I wasn't.
So you don't know what happened?
Correct. Just from what my foreman, Bernie, was told me.
Okay. What's Bernie's last name?
Ramirez.
Mr. Ramirez, would you step up, please? You were supervising these men that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you watching them at all times?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see what happened with the dog?
Yes, I was there too. I was, when the dog came out,
When the dog came out of where?
From the yard.
How did the dog get out of the yard?
One of my workers go inside to collect the electric power, the extension cord, and the dog, he leave the door open, and then that's when the dog come out.
So one of your workers allowed the dog to get out?
Right.
Were you told, sir, that there would be a dog there?
Paperwork that I provide suggests that they keep the dog at a neighbor's house or inside the house.
That's not what I asked
No,
you.
I didn't know there was a dog there.
Okay. Go ahead. So one of your workers let the dog out?
So the dog come out, and I start playing on the front of the yard. And I was talking to him by the phone, and so I saw the dog running,
running in the front yard?
On the front yard, in and out. And then, so I'm scared because I said, well, maybe the dog is gonna go away. So I tell my workers. So two workers come out from the roof to try to put the dog inside, back in the yard. But I never saw nobody hit the dog, nobody touched the dog.
No, there was no testimony that anybody hit the dog with the hammer.
Yeah,
there was testimony that they were motioning to the dog with the hammer. Did you see the dog being tied up by the back legs?
No.
Well, that happened because there is no question in my mind that this lady is telling me the truth. Any question in your mind that the neighbor is telling me the truth, sir?
I have no idea.
Well, I know, if you have no idea, I'm going to tell you that this lady is telling me 100% truthfully that the dog was tied up by the legs and pulled in the street. And if your worker, Bernie, didn't see that, then he didn't see everything. There isn't a reason in the world that this neighbor, who doesn't know these people from a hole in the wall, would come to court and lie for her and pick up the phone and call your company to tell your company.
I've got records that she didn't call.
Oh.
I get a log of every call that comes into my office.
That somebody records.
Correct.
So nobody recorded. Just a second.
No, either name or number. They don't care. They'll record a message.
She
Whatever
wasn't
the message
leaving
is.
her name and number.
Correct. She left a message. I show no message.
That's your problem. That's your problem.
It states that she didn't call me.
She called you.
She didn't.
Oh, yes, she did.
I don't have record of it. Every call that comes into my office
No, listen to me,
gets
sir.
recorded.
Listen to me carefully. Don't get defensive. You weren't there. Fortunately, you weren't responsible for this. But I can think of no reason why this woman, who is new to the neighborhood, would be so upset about what she saw to go outside, get the number from your truck, come inside, place a call, speak to somebody who said to her, according to her, which I believe 100%, leave me your number, somebody will call you back. She said, I'm not leaving my number, thank you very much, and she hangs up, and nobody records it in your log.
She said that they took a message to get me out to the job site.
No, that's not what she said. That's what you wanted to hear. What she said was, she wanted somebody to come to the job site, but they said to her, give me your name and your telephone number, and I'll have someone call you back. And she did not want to do that.
But she requested to leave a message. That message would have been taken and recorded and sent to me.
Just to say, I heard what you said.
Correct.
You're not hearing what I'm saying? I believe she called.
I don't believe she called.
Then that's your problem. Fortunately, I'm in charge. I don't know if Bernie is lying intentionally, or if he didn't see everything, or if he wasn't watching what was going on there. You think these people are trying to scam you out of a roof?
I believe they're trying quite a bit. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
No. I think that the men that you hired did not do the right thing that day, and they were very angry. Whether or not it translates into them suing you for $5,000, I don't know. But there's no question in my mind, after listening to Bernie and listening to the neighbor, that she is telling me the truth. Bernie, two things. He either did not see everything, or he's lying. Because he did not put the dog back in the pen.
I've never known
He
Bernie
did
to
not
lie.
put the dog back in the pen, Bernie. She says somebody came to the front door, one of the men came to the front door and ultimately picked up the dog and put it back into the yard after they got finished doing the stupidity that they were doing to this dog.
I was told the dog was dragged back into the garage. I'm getting a lot of conflicting stories.
Not
from
to
this
me.
side. Of course not.
Not to me.
I have.
Not to me.
I've received a number of different stories. And the dog doesn't get taken to the vet till 2.5 days, 3 days later, after I tell him, no, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm not going to take your word or your neighbor's word. I'm not going to give you a financial benefit for this. I said, what do you want? He says, I want money from you. I own your company. I want a free roof. I said, I'm not going to give you a free roof. Well, I'll sleep on it. He sleeps on it, comes back and says, I don't want to pay your labors. You know they're lying to you. You know anyone will lie in order to get paid. Well, to this day, they haven't been paid.
Two people attached to your company did the wrong thing that day with the dog.
It wasn't proven. You have
It's
one
proved. Just a second.
You've got
It's
the
proven
vet who says there's nothing wrong with the dog.
Just a second. I didn't say that the dog was injured, sir. The dog was maltreated. The dog was
She could have
maltreated.
misconstrued what was going on in some parts, yes.
No, this lady didn't come out twice screaming because she was misconstruing what was going on.
She was concerned about how scared she was. Call the police. The police could have been there and taken care of everything. Everything would have been solved right then and there.
It's a possibility. She could have done that. She could
But
have called the police.
So there was.
Give me a reason. Think of a reason.
Why she didn't call the police?
No, think of a reason why she would lie. I can think of a reason why Bernie would lie.
Why is that?
Because he was responsible. He was the foreman on the job. He was responsible ultimately for the performance of his men and
He's
what they did.
performed jobs
I'm
for me for 12
speaking.
years.
I'm speaking. He was responsible ultimately for the performance. And if he came to you and said to you, I did in fact see two of my guys who didn't know what they were doing, who were just sort of fooling around with the dog, and one did put a lasso around the legs, but meant to put it around the head to get it back into the house, or he didn't see everything, or he figured, say nothing. I can think of a reason for him to lie. I can't think of a reason for her to lie.
And I can't think of a reason for him to lie.
Well, I can. And that's the only thing that counts. So, you have to prove damages to me, sir. What were your damages? So far, you got a $7,500 roof for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. The hardware replacement for the door locks and everything.
Listen to me. I'm not entertaining your claim for any door locks.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't do anything with regard to going into your house.
Okay, I felt in good conscience I should pay the materials for the roof. I'm not going to pay him until an officer of the court tells me to pay him for the labor.
Well, that's not...
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
The pet clinic was $31.
Let me see the vet reports.
And all the material has not been paid.
I have the receipt for that,
Material
Your
from
Honor.
ALL has been paid, but not material from my yard. Not all material came from ALL.
Your countersuit is for $4,500 for defamation of character and lost wages. The defamation of character, I assume, has to do with these people saying things about your business.
Correct. Contacting the Better Business Bureau, threatening to contact the newspaper, and degrading my company.
They are entitled to do that.
Your Honor, he's also put a lien on my house, I believe.
I have every right to lien the house. I haven't been paid for the
You're
job.
absolutely right. Is this lawsuit supposed to determine that?
No.
So then why am I hearing your countersuit?
It's not for the lien on the house.
Well, what is it for?
It's for loss of wages for my men for the day, loss
what
of
day?
work for today, for being here.
For today?
Correct.
Forget it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I believe that they have a perfectly valid claim against you because I believe that the people who represent your company did the wrong thing that day. First, they negligently let the dog out of the yard. That, at least, we know from Bernie. And after that, Bernie told them to go and take care of it. Then one of them dragged the dog across the property, not even the property, not even the grass, but into the street,
With
in
no
the gravel.
damages to the dog.
What?
No injury to the dog. After all this horrendous treatment of the animal.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $5,000. You're pretty thick.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 492 on the calendar in the matter of Smoot versus Andres Rentalin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Andreas is the apartment manager of an apartment complex where your girlfriend lives. She is a tenant, is that right?
That's correct.
And you also live there, even though you're not on the lease?
Yes, I've been living there for over a year and a half now, Your Honor.
But you're not on the lease?
No.
According to your complaint, Mr. Andreas was having your car towed by the defendant, and you came home to find your car up being loaded onto a flatbed truck or a car that you were working on. It wasn't your car. And an altercation took place, and as a result of that altercation, you were arrested. You claim you were falsely arrested. So you are suing both defendants for having you falsely arrested. Is that what this case is about?
As well as the loss of the car, Your Honor. That's correct.
And ultimately, this car was, in fact, towed and was sold.
That's correct.
How long had this car been parked at the apartment complex?
For 2 days, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Mr. Andreas?
No, that's not correct. It was parked there on 2 different occasions.
When for the first time was it parked there?
It was the beginning of the new year.
And how long was it there then?
I would say at least 3 days. I almost had it towed before.
Now, why did you almost have it towed the first time, sir?
Because I had informed Mr. Smoot that it was tenant parking only.
When did you first inform him of that?
Before the new year. He had a truck parked there, and I asked that it be removed. It was unregistered.
Okay. Whose truck was that, sir?
I had borrowed a truck, okay, because I'm an auto mechanic by trade, and sometimes I have different vehicles when I come home from work. I parked probably 5 or 6 different vehicles there while Jeff was the manager. But
there came a time when there was a problem, Mr. Smoot.
Yeah, there was a problem. And I don't understand it, why there was a problem, because of the fact that, first of all, I brought a witness with me, Norma, which is the tenant that resides in number 18, that gave me permission to use her unoccupied stall. I also have a letter here from the property owner, and I can let her read the letter. The letter was
Just a minute. Did you ever see a copy of this letter?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
Not to mention the fact that he was also terminated as a manager for not getting along with the other tenants in the building. I also have a letter of the change.
Has nothing to do with this.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
What do you mean, what's not correct?
I called the owner after the incident, and I asked, did he give permission? And he said, no, he didn't. He had instructed the tenant in number 20 to deal with me on the vehicle.
Whatever.
That's a lie.
I mean, I'm not taking this letter as gospel because it is just a letter. His letter is not sworn deposition. Just curious as to what he said. All right, but Mr. Smoot, you were told by the apartment manager that he didn't want these cars that you were fixing back and forth on the property. That would be a fair statement?
No, that would not be a fair statement, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are you a tenant in that building?
Well, I live there.
No. You're not on the lease. You're not on anybody's lease.
I'm not on the lease. That is
You're not
correct,
on the lease.
Your Honor.
So you are not a tenant.
No.
Is there a sign on the property that says parking for tenants only?
Not that I'm aware of, Your
Yes.
Honor.
I have a photograph
Let me see it.
that shows the sign right by.
Of course, there would be a sign that say tenants parking only. Anyway, there was a problem, and he decided to have your car towed. What happened when you came home and found your car being towed, Mr. Smoot? It wasn't your car, by the way. It was a car that you were fixing.
Yes, the car was operable. The only reason that the vehicle was parked inside of the stall is because the vehicle was not legal to have it on the street. And so I asked Mrs. Norma Wilt, my witness, if it was okay to park the vehicle there until I had a time to get the vehicle taken out and take it to the shop so that I can perform the services
So
on
you
it.
were, just a second, so you were really using this property as part of your business?
No. If I
Sure
park,
you were.
If I park a
No,
vehicle...
you were. You were using this as part of your business. This was not your car. You were, in fact, storing it for business purposes until you could work on it. This was not your personal car for your personal use. It was a business car, and it shouldn't have been there. I don't care whose permission you have. It should not have been there. What happens, for instance, if this vehicle was dangerous for some reason and exploded? Let's say somebody was injured as a result of something that happened because of that car. Who do you think would be responsible? Who would be responsible, Mr. Smoot?
I would probably say the property owner.
That is exactly right.
But we had permission. I had permission from
No, you did not. No, I don't believe that you had permission from the property
Yes.
owner, sir. I have no evidence that you had permission from
I had
the property
permission.
owner. The property owner's not here.
No, but Miss Dolores Harris is.
No, Ms.
As well
Dolores
as-
Harris is a tenant.
Mhm.
She is not the property owner. And if something happened as a result of that car being there, she would not be responsible. The owner of the building would be responsible because they permitted that vehicle to be there. If that vehicle spewed oil all over the place and that oil caught fire somehow and there was damage or somebody was injured, it is the owner of the premises that would be responsible, not this lady who gave you permission to park the car there. She had no right to give you permission to engage in a business in her parking space. In any event, I'm telling you, just in case you think you're 100% right, you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Smoot claims Jeff Andrews and John Rintalin had him falsely arrested. John says David tried to run him over in a car.
Now let's get back to, you come home and you find your car being towed. What happened?
I came through the fence and I said, Jeff, what are you doing? I said, you know how I make a living? I said, I make a living on working on cars. And I said, this vehicle doesn't even belong to me. I said, why are you going to, tow the vehicle? I said, I can't afford to pay for this guy's vehicle and pay for it to get it out of impound and stuff like that. And he said, I told you that you had until the end of the day to get it out of here. And I said, but it's not the end of the day. It's only 1:30 or so. That's why I came home from lunch to get the vehicle to take it off so that it wasn't going to create a problem. And he said, I don't care. He goes, I'm towing it away anyways. And so I proceeded to jump in the car. The tow truck driver was probably about 15 yards away, 20 yards away from the car. And what happened is that he had jumped...
No, just a second. You're going to get a chance to tell me your version of the events.
He had jumped in the tow truck, and I had gotten in the car. And so the tow truck is kind of like at an angle, and I'm trying to back out, and then he just gets real close to the back of the vehicle, trying to like block me in. And then Jeff comes around and starts like punching through the window, trying to get me out of the car. And he's like hitting me on the side of my head and stuff like that while the car is running. I had the car running, and it wasn't really running that good, and it's a stick shift. I had the thing in reverse, and he's like trying to pull me out of the car, and this thing is idling.
Just a second, please. You're going to have an opportunity. Don't interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's like idling, and he's like trying to pull me out of the car, and my foot like lunged off of the clutch while it was in reverse, and it just kind of like jumped back. And then all of a sudden, I just hear like a screaming noise from his wife, and they're saying, "Do you have any insurance? Do you have any insurance? Call the police, call the police. We just, he tried to run us over, he tried to run us over." And they were trying to say that his leg was hurt, and when the police got there, they came and they took a little tiny red little irritation mark or something on a picture, a photo, and they asked him if he wanted to go to the hospital. He said no. At the same time while this was happening, just prior to that, I said, I'm going to go call the police myself. And so as I attempted to go down the hallway at my apartment, the police were right there and they arrested me. And I said, I'm the one you're looking for, because I wanted to call the police, but they were there, and they turned me around and they arrested me for.
You got it? You got all this part?
I got all that.
They said assault with a deadly weapon. So these guys, Your Honor, I know the guy, you know, I never had nothing against him, but he's a white supremacist, you know, he's got tattoos all over him, you know, and...
Don't go there. Don't listen to me.
I'm just saying.
Don't go there.
I went to jail, they lied. I had a felony, I was looking at 1 year, in jail, okay, I missed about 17 days on a jury trial, okay, I was finally found not guilty, okay, and I missed all types...
But you went to trial, is that correct? At the end of the people's case, was the case dismissed, or did you put on a case? Did you testify yourself?
I testified myself.
Then you presented a case. So the case was not dismissed after the people's case. Is that right?
I was found not guilty.
You're not following my question because you're just resisting it? There are two parts of a case. Don't you watch television?
Okay.
The district attorney presents their case.
Right.
And at the end of that case, the defendant, if the defendant wishes, presents their case.
Yes.
At the end of the people's case, the judge finds that there is insufficient evidence to support any kind of a verdict. The judge will direct a verdict for the defendant and dismiss the case. If there is sufficient evidence to go forward, and the judge hears the defendant's case, and then after that entire case, the judge has to make a decision beyond a reasonable doubt whether the allegations are true. Just because you were found not guilty doesn't mean you're not guilty. Just doesn't mean that they were not satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that you were guilty. Do you understand the difference?
I understand.
All right. Now you've told your story. By the way, who got nicked with the car?
I did, Your Honor.
All right. So then I'm going to start with you, sir. You want to tell me you're called there to tow the truck?
We were called by Mr. Andrews to tow a vehicle, and I had my truck right up to the back of the vehicle that I was going to tow away. And that's when this gentleman over here jumped over the fence and came running up to the car, screaming and yelling, "What are you doing taking my car? You ain't taking it?" And yes, he is. It went on like this for a while. This was the guy that signed the paperwork that I had, the permission that he wants me to take this off the property, this paper here. And I said, well, am I taking it? He goes, yes, take it. Okay. So I went to hook it up underneath the vehicle. I reached down, I go into the car to hook it up, and all of a sudden this car starts up and comes back on me, and I'm under the car hooking it up. And so I jumped up out of the way, and as I come up out of the way, this gentleman here running around the front of the car and pulled him off from the driver's seat because he was running, and his wife screamed, "Oh my God, he ran over the tow truck driver."
Okay. Now, before you hook up the car, did you see Mr. Andreas go over to the plaintiff at all? Was there any altercation in the car at all?
No, Your Honor. Mr. Andrews was standing to the rear of the car to my right, and they're arguing about taking the car, not taking the car.
And how far away were they from each other when they were arguing?
The car is between them.
Okay, the car was between them at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And he was not in the car at that point?
Not even.
So he got in the car as you went to hook it up?
I don't know when he got into the car, Your Honor. I was under the car, then I hear the car start up. I didn't see him get in the car. So he was still standing up. I went under the car, then he jumped in the car, I assume, started it up, proceeded to back up on me. I jumped out of the way, and that's when he ran around.
So you saw him run around at that point?
I was coming back up from behind the car, yes, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'd like to see a copy of the police report.
I have that. I brought
I'd
that
like
for
to
you
see
today.
it, please. Police report and the police at the scene noted injuries to the defendant, Mr. Rintalin, minor injuries, but injuries to the leg consistent with being hit by the car that you were driving. The police officer examined your entire head area where you had claimed that you were repeatedly punched.
Just hit on the side.
No, you said repeatedly punched is what you said. The police officer who examined you found absolutely no evidence of any bruises, marks, or anything else, and there were no visible injuries anywhere. So, Mr. Smoot, let me tell you what I believe happened, sir. I believe that perhaps Mr. Andreas acted precipitously. He had told you before not to park your business cars there. You did. And maybe he just decided he had had enough. Whatever it is, he didn't give you till the end of the day. You came home and you were furious.
That's not true.
I don't care what you say, sir. Why don't you listen to me now?
Okay.
I'm speaking, sir.
Okay.
You came, you saw the car being towed, you were furious that it was being towed. I do not believe that Mr. Andreas punched you at any time other than trying to get you out of the car after you had hit this gentleman here with the car.
That's not true. Okay.
So, you don't like my ruling? There is no appeal. The district attorney believed that you, in fact, acted improperly when you got into that car and attempted to move it when somebody was attempting to do their job and hook it up to be towed. You have an alternative, Mr. Smoot, and your alternative was they tow the car to a lot at that time. If you feel as if you have been wronged, you deal with it. But what you did was you started a confrontation. And as a result of that confrontation, he could have been seriously injured because you were hot and you were not looking where he was when you got into that car.
That's not true, Your Honor. That's not true.
Yes, it is, sir.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is, sir.
That's not
Listen
true.
to me. Put your hand down.
That's not true.
I don't care what you say, sir. I'm telling you it's true. You weren't concerned about anybody's safety at that point but the car.
I work on cars, and I know what a vehicle would do when you put a vehicle in reverse and then actually try running over a person.
Then what were you doing in the car, sir?
Because I was moving.
No. What were you doing in the car?
I was going to move the car. The tow truck was not in position to have the vehicle.
Then how did he get hit?
He wasn't hit.
Oh, yes, he was.
I have.
Oh, yes, he was.
He was trying to make money out of this deal. Okay.
No, sir. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Smoot. Hey, quiet. Did they sue you?
Did who sue me? These guys?
Pay attention to my question.
Okay.
Did he sue you?
No, but
just a second.
No, he did not.
Well, if he did not sue you, sir, then he was not trying to make money off this situation.
Because he found out that there wasn't any insurance on that unregistered vehicle. That was the first thing that came out of his mouth.
Just a second. He could sue you.
That's true.
You work.
Right.
He doesn't have to sue the person whose vehicle it was. He could sue you. So, if he didn't sue you, then he's not the one trying to make money off of this situation. You are.
I'm trying to recoup my bail money from these guys lying to the police.
It's not going to happen, Mr. Smoot.
Okay.
You acted improperly.
I don't.
When you came there and saw your car in a situation where it was being towed, you could have done several things. You could have called 911 and called the police and say, please respond immediately. Someone is stealing my car.
And I tried, but they had already called the police and they lied.
No, Mr. Smoot. Hey, please. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir. Before you jumped over the fence and got in the car, you did not attempt to call the police. I'm telling you, before this incident started to escalate, when you saw your car being towed, you get on the phone and you call the police and you say, somebody is stealing my car. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You were hot. You were hot. There's no question you were hot, and maybe you had a right to be hot. But you precipitated the altercation over a car where somebody could have gotten seriously hurt. And for that, sir, you do not get rewarded. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. 4:30 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus Aguilar.
Thank you very much.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Williams, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had sort of an off-again, on-again relationship for about 5 years.
Right, correct.
And sometime in September of 2000, the defendant was arrested. And you posted bail for her in the amount of $245.
Correct.
And you want her to pay back the bail money.
Right.
The defendant says she never asked you to post the bail for her. How were you contacted and advised that she had been arrested?
Well, like I said, off and on since '96, me and Miss Aguilar.
Just a second. Very slowly, and speak up, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. We had like a little relationship going at that time, and then she came to me with her problems, and she said she'd been in jail, and I said, I would like to know what's the problem was, and she was telling me that she'd been in jail, she hated it, she was there for a while. So then I said, well, okay, if you get in trouble like that again, you could just go ahead and just call me. I'll post bail for you, only if you pay me back. So,
baloney! What kind of ridiculousness is that, Mr. Williams?
I never...
Just a second. Mr. Williams, if you're going to tell me the truth,
Yeah,
you can't give me a baloney story.
Well,
according to the story you just gave me, you were in a relationship, she told you she had been in trouble before, she told you she had been in jail before, and you said to her, and she wasn't in jail at the time, you were sitting talking in your living room, If you ever get into trouble like that again, you call me and tell me, and I will post bail for you as long as you pay me back.
Prior before that, yes.
Mr. Williams.
No, I'm sorry. I said I'll post. her bail. No, I bail her out of jail if she get in a problem like that again. Prior before that, her friend called me telling me that she was in jail.
Just a minute. Let's get the time she was arrested, Mr. Williams. She was arrested. Who called you?
Her friend Alexis.
What did her friend say to you?
Well, she told me that Jennifer was in jail and she wanted me to post bail for her.
For Jennifer?
Right.
And you said?
And I said, only if she paid me back. And she said, yes, she would pay me back. She would come to work the next day and give me the money. So I was like, okay, cool.
So you went and you posted bail?
I posted her bail. Right.
When was the next time you saw her?
The next time I seen her was in 2000. I think it was in July when she was pregnant with my baby. That's what she said.
So you didn't see her the next day?
No.
Or the day after that?
No.
Or the month after that?
No.
You didn't see her for 10 months, right?
No. The next time I seen her, I just heard that she was pregnant with my baby. So.
And how did that come about?
She was pregnant at this time, and like I said, we had an on and off relationship.
So the next time you saw her, you found out that she had just had a baby?
Right. And she don't let me see her or nothing like that.
Your Honor, that's
just a second.
lie.
All right, so now you want your bail money back.
Not just that, but I want visitation rights. I want to see, Zarnik. I only seen her only 4 times throughout all of this.
All right, well, I'll get to that in a second.
2000.
Alexis asked him to post bail for you. What were you incarcerated for?
In September 2000, I had a domestic violence case, which then I had a warrant at the same time.
You were arrested for domestic violence and another warrant dropped on you?
Correct.
Domestic violence involving who?
My other partner, which was Alma.
Who?
It's another female.
Now, who is Alexis?
Well, Alexis is Alma. It's the same person.
So Alexis complained that you had assaulted her, and after you were taken away and arrested, Alexis called him and asked him to bail you out.
Apparently that's the way it happened. I didn't know that she was going to go look for him and tell him that I was in jail. I was in jail. I ended up getting posted out, which was
great. And then you never asked Alexis, how did your bail get posted?
No.
No, answer me honestly. Shh. Mr. Williams.
At that time, at the time that I got bailed, I was speaking to my mom on the phone and stuff to see if they could get me out. I was under the circumstances that I wasn't going to get out, so I thought I was going to stay in there until I seen the magistrate.
Ms. Aguilar, I want you to pay careful attention to my question. When you get bailed out, you see Alexis. A natural question is, did you post the bail for me? That would be what a normal person would say. You're not an abnormal person, are you?
No.
So you would say, who posted the bail for me? And Alexis told you who posted the bail for you.
Yes, she did.
Of course. And what did she say?
She told me that she had gotten a hold of Don Trial and that he had offered to get me out of jail.
Okay, fine. That's honest.
Yes.
Don't give me baloney about calling your mother and asking your mother and you don't know. That's an honest scenario of what happens.
Correct.
You get out, you say, who posted this bail? Who sprung me?
Correct.
Alexis said, he did.
Correct.
Now, you were pregnant when you went to jail?
At that time in September, I didn't know that I was pregnant.
I didn't ask you whether you didn't know. I asked you, were you pregnant at that time?
Yes, I was.
And you've had a child?
Yes, I have.
A boy or a girl?
A girl. She's 9 months now.
Now, there came a time, according to the papers that I read, that you contacted Mr. Williams and told him that it was his child.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I should have done it earlier, but at the time before I had her, I wasn't sure with myself if I was going to be able to raise her right, so I wasn't sure of keeping her.
So you decided not to tell him?
Exactly.
Now,
3 months after I had her, we met. I let him know that he can see her anytime. I've given him that opportunity.
No, that's not correct.
It worked. He's seen her a few times, and then supposedly his stepdad told him that it was all about the money, that the baby wasn't his or something. And so then at that time, he verbally gave up his rights to her. And then he asked for a blood test.
Verbally? How verbally did he give up his rights to her?
He didn't believe it was his, and he didn't want nothing to do with her.
No. He asked for a blood test. Right.
Okay. My partner and him went to the place to go get a blood test done. They couldn't get the baby her poke very well. She was still little, and it's hard to get pokes on babies. So they stopped it. They didn't pursue with it. I then told him, if she comes back negative and she's not his, I'll pay for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dontrell Williams says ex-girlfriend Jennifer Aguilar owes for an unpaid loan for bail.
All right, Mr. Williams, with regard to your lawsuit, you never had an agreement with the defendant to pay you back the money for bail. Your agreement, if there was any agreement, and I don't think there was with this Alexis person. In order for there to be a debt created, you have to have an arrangement with the person who you claim owes you the money. You had no agreement with her, so I can't give you your $245 back. If Alexis promised to pay you back the money, you go after Alexis. And Alexis may then, I'm speaking, and Alexis may then go after the defendant. But you never had an agreement with her to pay you back. So that takes care of that. But I'm going to give you some advice now. If you are legitimately interested in pursuing a relationship as the father of this child, then what you do is you have to go to court and you file a petition to be legally declared the father of this child, and you ask for a blood test.
I was trying to do that, but she would never give me the opportunity.
She doesn't give you the opportunity, sir.
She never let me see the girl. So.
No, Mr. Williams, you're fighting me, sir. I'm telling you that in order to establish rights, your right under the law, you have to go to court and be legally declared the father of the child. You're fading off, sir.
Okay.
Pay attention to me. This is the most expensive advice you're going to get for free. Do you understand?
Yes.
You go to court. They will direct a blood test. You will have to pay for the blood test. She will be ordered to produce the child for the blood test. That will establish once and for all whether or not you are the father of this child.
Sorry.
Then they will decide what kind of either custody or visitation you should have, and they will fix a support order so that you can help support your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what you have to do. That way you don't have to rely on her saying, well, today you can see her and tomorrow you can't. That way you have an order.
She moved by every 6 months, so I can never really catch up with her.
Well, you know where she is now, sir.
No, I don't.
Where are you now?
I'm in Greeley.
It's the same place he lives.
I got evicted because...
Where are you now?
18th Street.
So then I would very, very quickly, Mr. Williams, go to court. You serve her with a summons. You'll take your daughter for the blood test, correct?
I have no problem taking her.
Good. And then everybody will have their rights outlined. Do you understand, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Why's that excuse? You may step out.
You gotta watch who you trust.
I think it was fair.
I feel like I was taking advantage. She deceived me over the years, saying that, this and that.
He knows I'm in another relationship and we will never work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Luff versus Barker. Step forward, please.
27-year-old homemaker Jennifer Luff is suing her second cousin, truck driver David Barker, and his wife Margaret Barker for the return of her great-grandfather's trailer. The Barkers have a countersuit for storage fees.
Miss Luff, it is your claim that a trailer that is currently on the defendant's property belongs to you and you want it back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that if you can prove that the trailer is yours, they will return it to you, and then they are counterclaiming for $900 in storage fees that they feel is proper for storing this trailer if it belongs to you. Are you related to each other?
Yes.
How are you related?
David is my mother's cousin.
Oh, where did this trailer come from?
It was bought from my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and it was placed on the defendant's property because
it was bought for your great-grandfather?
Yes.
By whom?
By my son's father, my uncle, and my sister's ex-husband.
When did they purchase it for him?
I'm not sure.
When did it come onto your property?
99.
It was July of 1999.
How did it come to be on your property?
My grandfather had his own house in Lake County, and we talked him into, when my grandmother died, my cousin and everybody pitched in and bought the trailer so he could be closer to us.
When did he pass away?
In November of 1999.
What makes you think this trailer belongs to you?
Because I spoke with my uncle, who had part in buying it, my son's father, and my sister's ex-husband, and they gave it over to me. I have the title in my name. They gave it over to me.
Let me see it.
To sell it because my son's father gave me his share in it, and my uncle does not live here, so they gave it to me to sell, and I have to give them shares.
In whose name had the trailer been in?
The people who originally owned it, my sister's ex-husband had it.
4 people?
It had never been in their names, though. It was never switched over.
How did you register this?
I just took the title down there that they had signed.
Well, let me see.
I don't have that. I gave it to the tag office, and then I signed the title, and they sent that back to me.
Did you show this to the defendants?
No, I did not, because at the time I had only been given a receipt of change of title, and I showed that to the defendants when I tried to go get the travel trailer.
Okay, would you show this to the defendants, please?
Can I explain now pretty much?
No, just, okay. I want you to look at that. Okay. So this clearly is a deed to that trailer.
I guess so.
Okay. Now, I'll let you. That. Now tell me.
Okay. Pretty much what happened was, like she said, we moved the trailer on our property of July of 1999. Grandpa passed away of November of 1999. The trailer was on our property for almost 2 years without anybody coming over and saying they want this trailer or anything. June of 2000, her boyfriend, it's the father of one of her children, borrowed my son's car, and he got into an accident with it, He smashed it up. He totaled out my son's car. I put a judgment against him, which I have papers that I was settled the judgment with him. Ever since then, we've been harassed for the trailer.
Go ahead.
When I sued her boyfriend, that was it. She was harassing us, making threats to us.
She wants the trailer.
Exactly.
So give her the trailer. She's the registered owner of the trailer.
But she never claimed it 2 years before that. That's what I'm saying.
That may be. That may be. And I don't know what took her so long, and quite
Can I
frankly.
explain why?
If you must.
What took so long is because about a month after my grandfather died, my cousin, David's son, came to me and said that he had nowhere to stay and could he stay in the trailer. That's the only reason it hasn't been moved in all this time, because he was staying there and paying them $75 a week. That's why I didn't think I owed them storage.
When was this title turned over to you?
The date?
Not until after...
Just a minute.
It didn't have anything to do with the accident.
September of 2001.
Okay, which is when about a month after my sister moved in with me.
The date of issue, September of 2001. Prior to that, it was titled to some other relative.
No, it was titled to the original owners were not a relative.
They promised to put it in my grandfather's name.
No, we never promised
that. And they never did. Yes,
we never
they did.
promised
Just
that.
a second. But it was titled to somebody else.
Right.
Nobody ever put their name in it. My sister's ex-husband just had an open title in his safe and had never changed the title over. So when he gave it to me, I changed it over right away. I put it in my name.
Drug addicts
Just a second. Did they have a bill of sale from the owner?
Yes, they did.
Where is it?
That's at home. I did not bring that.
Shady.
So whose name did you put on these documents that enabled them to give you this certificate of title?
They had already signed the title over to me. It was an old title. They had signed the back of the title.
Who had signed it?
The original owners.
No.
When did they sign it?
They signed it when it was first purchased.
I see. So they just signed it over to...
Yes, and nobody ever signed purchaser.
Oh, okay. Anybody could put their name on it. That's right. And they told you could put your name on it.
Yes, my brother-in-law, it was in his possession and he gave it over to me.
Okay. Now, she has a certificate of title that on its face is valid.
Correct.
She is entitled to it. And she did not become entitled to it until September of 2001 on the date the title was issued. Do you understand that? We're clear so far?
Yes.
Right.
After September of 2001, did you make any claim for storage of the trailer?
Yes, I did.
When?
I filed a countersuit on her, but it wasn't. It was on.
It was after they got my
It was
suit.
right.
No, I'm talking about before that.
No.
Before you got this lawsuit, the papers for this lawsuit served on you, did you ever say,
No.
look,
No, we
Here we
didn't.
unless you get this trailer off my property?
Right. But I talked to her on September 3rd because she'd been threatening my wife, telling other neighbors that she was going to take her glasses off and smack her. And she said that she was going to sell the trailer to some guy and take payments for $2,500. And I told her that I feel that everybody that put money in that trailer should get money out of it. I told her, I said, I know somebody would give $3,000 at least and give you cash. The next day, I went to work and she comes there to take the trailer off the
It
property.
was on Friday, September 5th.
With me not there.
At 5 p.m. That was her first and one and only attempt to try to retrieve the trailer off of her property. No warning. I've come to get my trailer. And I said, no, you're not. My daughter was a witness. My girlfriend was a witness saying
It's
that...
not necessary.
Right.
Look.
Well, just to say that I did tell her when she can make it convenient for everybody, you can come back and get the trailer.
This is just clearly an issue of title, and I must go based upon the title.
Right.
The title to this trailer
understand.
rests in her.
That's
Right.
fine.
She has to get it off your property.
Right.
She has 5 days to get it off your property.
Okay, well, I have pictures here to show that it's difficult just to yank this trailer off of our property. That was the other issue that occurred on September 5th, is because it's not that easy just to come in there, and we have to make an arrangement. You can't just come in there and hook up this trailer and go down the road with it.
No, so we're going to fix a date.
Okay, well,
what date do you want them to come and move the trailer?
Well, he's going back on the road to go back to work pretty soon.
You want to do it Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
All right, the court will draft an order indicating that on Friday at 12 noon, the trailer will be moved off the property. Understood?
Yes,
Your counterclaim is dismissed because there has to be an agreement for storage before there can be
Right,
storage
that's
fees, and
fine.
there was no agreement. Thank you, that's all.
Thanks.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 589 on the calendar, the matter Clymer versus Culp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Clymer, is this your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to know who the players were. According to your complaint, the defendant, who is the current girlfriend of your soon-to-be ex-husband,
Yes, ma'am.
drove your car without permission when you weren't home one weekend and blew the engine on the car. You want her to replace the engine.
Yes.
There is a counterclaim by Ms. Culp for defamation. She says that you've been spreading nasty rumors about her. So When were you and your husband married?
December 14th, 1999.
So it's a short-term marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have no children together?
No, we do not.
Do you have any children of your own?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
28 and 25.
So they don't live with you?
No, they don't.
Mr. Clymer, does he have children?
Yes, he does.
Were they living with you at the time
Yes,
that
they
you
are.
were together?
Yes.
How old are they?
17 and 15.
When did this incident happen with the car?
Approximately on a Saturday. I left town.
What date?
I think it was around the 28th.
Of what month?
December.
Now, on December 28th, were you and your husband still living together
Yes,
as man
ma'am,
and
we
wife?
were. 2 days after Christmas. And then I left town to take my $2 back to Emmett and visit my mom.
Okay, so on the 27th, you had had a discussion with him about divorcing. I assume that that didn't come as a shock to you.
Yes, it did, ma'am.
It did?
Yes, it did.
You didn't know anything was wrong?
No, I did not.
Did you ask him why?
Yes, I did.
What did he say?
Because I didn't make him Rice Krispie bars. I didn't go to church. And just ridiculous comments why he wanted a divorce.
So you got in your car and you left?
Well, that following morning I left.
So you left on the 28th?
Yeah, I think it was Friday morning. Yeah.
When did you return home?
Sunday evening.
Okay, and according to your complaint, when you returned home, the defendant was there?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you known her before?
No, I do not. I don't even know who she is.
She never laid eyes on me before today, Your Honor.
Should I get down to the...
No, I don't want to. You found her in your house?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what did you do when you found her in your house?
I went to the police station and asked her if she would be removed from my premises.
And they said?
It was community property. And
right, and he could have any guests that he wanted in the house.
That's right.
Now, when you were married in 1999, was this your house or was it your husband's house?
No, ma'am, we just bought this house a week prior to this incident.
Really?
Yes, we did.
And it's in both your names?
It's in his name, but the money that went in this house came from my house in Emmett that I sold.
How much money?
Around $9,000.
How much was the house?
$59,000.
Why didn't you have the house put in both names? I'm just curious.
They said, I even asked him at the time, I said, is my name going to be on the deed? And they said, well, it's community property estate, you are still reliable for this house. And I says, I want to know. I want my name on that deed.
How old are you?
48.
The last house, the house that you sold, was that in your name?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Were you married at the time you had that house to someone else?
No. I bought that singly.
Okay, so you know about putting your name on a deed?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I even asked the realtor, I said, I would like to have my name on that deed. They said, it doesn't matter. You know.
Okay. All right. You're currently going through a divorce. Your husband is in the house?
No, I am in the house.
You're in the house now?
Yes.
So he had other place to go?
Yes, he did.
Fine. All right, now tell me about this car. You drove a car while you were there for that weekend.
Yes, I did.
Why?
The car belongs to Bob's daughter. I was driving the car because it needed to be serviced. Martha was out of town. Therefore, she couldn't drive the car. I left Athena the keys to my vehicle so she could go to work. She handed me her keys to her vehicle, which I in turn went to go pick him up from work to take the car to be serviced and then return it to Athena's work so that I could trade my car back. The car never made it past Kimberly Road, which is approximately 3 miles from the destination.
Okay. Mrs. Clymer, what kind of car is this? So I can...
It's a 95 Kia Sophia.
Was that your stepdaughter's car?
We give it to her to drive back and forth to work and also back and forth to school.
So it was a gift to your stepdaughter?
Yes.
Martha, Your Honor, does not even have a set of keys to this car.
Shh. It was a gift to your stepdaughter. You can't sue her. It's a gift. You made a gift to your stepdaughter, you and your husband. That car belongs to the child, and I assume that if the car is going to be fixed, it's going to be fixed by him. So don't take out your anger on him against your stepdaughter. That's ridiculous. So get over that. Let's get to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is that Mrs. Clymer is telling people around town that you broke up her marriage and you're a home wrecker.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's true.
I'm not sure.
Truth is a perfect defense.
Your Honor,
you gotta wait until the body is cold.
Your Honor, their marriage was over before I even came into the picture. I didn't even know Robert Clymer. I didn't even know Robert Clymer until October of this last year.
Listen to me. She was living there up until December 25th, right?
Yes.
He was living there up until December 25th, right?
Yes.
She goes away on December 28th, and you come over. That's 3 days. That doesn't mean the marriage is over. That means he may have told you that the marriage was over, but you knew you couldn't call the house. You didn't call the house there prior to that time, did you?
They don't have a home phone.
You didn't go over there to visit, did you, before that time?
I did come into town, yes. I knew
whether you went
the
into
whole
town,
family before I even met him.
Listen to me. He would meet you elsewhere, and you still knew that he was living together with his wife.
Yes.
So this is a bit more interesting than not making Rice Krispie balls.
You're right.
Says her estranged husband's girlfriend, Renee Culp, drove her car without permission and blew up the engine.
All right. So truth is a perfect defense. And you probably did have something to do with the termination of the marriage. He found somebody else that made better Rice Krispies anyway. But that doesn't mean that she can't go around town telling people that you wrecked her home, because in her mind you did, and probably had something to do with it. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Give him back the car. Sign it over to him. Do you understand? Good. Goodbye.
Please excuse me. Step out.
She's hostile and upset by the fact that I am now seeing her husband.
Coming home and finding those two in bed. You know.
Can you prove that it was me? She never even saw my face before today, and her allegation of catching us in bed, she's wrong.
Stand up for your rights.
Be careful.
Don't listen to your ex-husband.
I just want it all over with. And now the next case.
All parties on Dorr versus Dykstra. Step forward, please.
40-year-old homemaker Diane Dorr is suing her former landlord, 50-year-old engineer Richard Dykstra, for disposing of her personal property, the return of her security deposit, and emotional distress.
Ms. Dorr, the defendant was your landlord.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, he evicted you, and you want him to return your security deposit, which I think was $700. Yes. You claim that he disposed of property of yours, and you also were suing him for $500 for your stress. So let me get some facts. When did you commence a lease with Mr. Dykstra?
July of '99.
And what was your rent?
$650.
$650 a month?
Yeah.
Okay, and you agree with that, Mr. Dykstra, that you put down that security deposit?
I agree.
And when were you served with an eviction notice?
On April 4th, 2001.
Do you have a copy of that?
I sure do.
I'd like to see it, please.
He left it on the gate. I don't know that that matters, but I don't have a problem with moving out anyway. I pretty much lived through hell there.
One moment. So you gave a 30 days notice effective 4/4/01?
That's when I filed with the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff did not deliver this until the 9th of April, and I took that into account with the 30-day period.
So you were to be out of the apartment by May 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, were you out on or before May 9th?
Apparently he says I wasn't. He went over there, and I would lie to you if I told you the date. I wasn't there because I was pregnant and not allowed to be out of bed. I begged the man.
What do you mean I'm not allowed to be out of bed?
I wasn't supposed to be out of bed.
So where were you?
I was at the new place.
So you moved out? Mm-hmm. To a new place. When did you move out?
I started within 3 weeks of that notice after trying to beg him for a month extra. He would not give it to me. He wouldn't give me a reason. I said, fine, I'm just going to go. I can't handle this. Figured I'd clean the place, get everything out, right? I'm at the new place going back and forth to the hospital. I hired somebody to come in and clean it.
Okay, just 1 second. So let me understand this. You did, in fact, move out prior to May the 9th?
Yes.
Physically? You physically?
Physically. I left when he attacked me and my children. Not physically. I left because of that. Yes, I did. He cussed me out, and I left. I was afraid.
Good. So you left, and is what you're saying is that there was property of yours left after May 9th in the apartment?
No, I believe it was before that. After May 9th, I never went back. He locked the doors on May 9th. Changed the locks.
Now, is the property that you're complaining of that was disposed of by the defendant property that was there at the time he changed the locks on May 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you're not entitled to that back. Stuff that's considered abandoned. So we've just dealt with that. Now, you said you hired a cleaning crew.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You weren't at the house on May 9th?
Not. I might have been there once. I wasn't there when he came in and pushed them out and changed the lock. I was not there.
That was on May 9th?
Yeah.
On the day that you were supposed to be out? Mm-hmm. And you still had people cleaning in the apartment?
Yeah.
So he said what?
Your Honor, she paid for the month of April. Okay, so that was covered. That wasn't the problem. Starting May 1st, there was no rent being paid. I gave her to the 9th, actually to the 10th, and so I was losing $20 a day at this point.
He had $700 in
Just
deposit.
a second. Go. Speak.
So after I saw the progress her so-called cleaning crew was making, which was very, very slow, I have pictures here, Your Honor, and I'd like you to take a look at of the house.
Ms. Dorr,
and,
Ms. Dorr, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to display erratic kind of behavior, do you?
No.
You are.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I have pictures of the house, and the cleaning crew was moving very, very slow.
You mean on May, do you have pictures of the house on May 9th or May 10th?
Yes.
May I see them, please?
And rather than lose $20 a day and wait for these people to do what they were doing very slowly, I thought it was in the best interest of myself to just perform the cleaning myself. So I asked them to leave. I said, that's fine. It's a good enough job. Just go on your way.
Now, Mr. Dykstra, are these the two sofas that she claims that were left behind?
Yes, ma'am. Anything that was left in the house at that period, I moved out into the garage. I did change all the locks on the house, but I allowed them access to the garage until everything was taken out of that garage.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Did they take these two couches?
They
did?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
As you can see, if there was any cleaning done, it's not apparent in the pictures.
Maybe it was worse.
Could have been.
Didn't you ever clean the stove?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that those pictures came from the next door place. That wasn't my stove. I have papers where an inspector came in and says that everything was good in that house. She said I had the cleanest stove she had ever saw. It's documented here.
Oh, let me see that.
And
just a second. I'd like to see that.
Okay, I'm gonna send them with Bert. And a thing where I had the carpet cleaned in the year that I was there, year and 9 months. These are also pictures of what we were breathing and some of the stuff coming out of there that had damaged a lot of the walls and carpets. I lived there for a month without heat and continued to pay my rent because I don't want to be a bad person. You know what I mean? So I paid the rent, lived there while we breathed that. My kids were sick and going back and forth to the hospital breathing that stuff.
Well, you should have moved out sooner.
Well, we tried. I did the best I could, but I understand, and you're right, I should have. From what I could, he was on my property every day drinking. I'm an alcoholic, so it really had offended me when he did that. Before that, he was cutting the locks off.
Do you see me looking at you? Would you please point out to me where it says here, madam, that you had the cleanest stove the inspector had ever seen?
Well, she mentioned it.
Would you just point that out to me? I'd like to see it.
I don't know if it's on
Well,
here,
just
maybe.
take a look. That's what you're giving me.
She said it to me then. It wasn't written, but it doesn't say anything's ruined in there.
I asked you to answer my question.
Okay, it doesn't say it.
Okay. You want to show me, sir, a list of things that you claim that you spent money on to put this apartment back in condition to re-rent?
Yes, Your Honor. I have two separate ones here. The initial one is the one that I sent it to the plaintiff. The second one you have there is one I just did the other day with the actual expenses. She had a young pup, and it made a mess of the carpet, and I thought it could be cleaned, but I had to replace it after that. So even prorating the carpet over 5 years, for her 2 years, I still come up with a lot more that she owed me than I owe her. The rest was just little incidentals, mini blinds. I'm talking $20 here. You can't find a mini blind for $20. I'm not gouging her in anything.
Look, I just want you to tell me, sir, how much you spent on somebody coming in and doing a general cleaning in the apartment.
I cleaned myself. That's what it would have cost me to do something like that.
I just wanted to tell him about the blinds. When I had moved in, he told me I put a dog door in for the dog could go have access.
Yeah.
And we had cut them. That's where he's talking about the damage, so the dog would be above it. He said that was okay, don't worry, because once you'd lived there for a year, the blinds paid for themselves. Otherwise, I would have bought new ones and sat them in there.
Oh, I've seen places that look worse. Seen places that look better, but places that look worse as well. I want to get to your stress complaint, Ms. Dorr. I usually don't entertain that. I gather that you were living there for a while and that you complained several times about other neighbors, 2 other neighbors in particular, according to the defendant. One neighbor you said was selling drugs, and you evicted that person. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And then the plaintiff had somebody that she thought would be a good tenant, somebody that was going to do some babysitting for her.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you rented to that person.
Yes, I did. They were good tenants.
And what happened to that tenant?
They babysat for the county, and that was their major portion of their income. And after they quit watching the plaintiff's child for free, they thought they was being taken advantage of. She responded by calling the Child Protective Services and filed a complaint that said her son had been sexually abused by their son. So therefore, they lost their license, they lost their income, and they had to move.
Is there any reason other than those 2 instances why you decided to evict the plaintiff?
After 2 tenants and initially not knowing who to believe, Diane is very good at making, she's very convincing.
Not to me.
Okay. Well, I had a hard time at first, so I didn't know who to believe, the other tenant or her. And so I gave her the benefit of the doubt at the first time. But on the second instance, after that, it was obvious who was telling the lies here. And it cost me a couple of months' rent there, plus fixing up the other places. And then when I evicted Diane, it cost me a month's rent there, and I had to fix that place up. Pretty soon, you have to look out for your own well-being.
Okay. Tell me about your stress, Miss Dorr.
I'm not even going to bother because obviously you believe him. He had those places rented the day we were out of there.
Good.
All of them were, so.
Oh, that's great.
But I have copies of police reports, and I didn't call Children's Services. The school did. My son reported it to the school what had happened. And I don't know if I'd call it sexual abuse. It was the little boy on top of him. And if my son needs to tell the school that, I'm not going to tell him to be quiet.
Well, Mr. Dykstra, let me tell you this, sir. When a tenant moves out, things are never really perfect. You certainly are entitled to cleanup fees. I don't care who did it, whether you did it or whether someone else performed the service of cleaning up this mess, and there was a mess. And if you had a crew in to clean it up, they would have charged you at least $250 to clean it up, because that's more than 1 day's work for one person. It's more like 1 day's work for 3 people. Now, right now, $513 is the amount that I have that's deducting what she owed you for May's rent.
That's correct.
She chose not to be out by the 1st of May. If she were out the 1st of May, then you wouldn't have to pay any part of May's rent. And I'm also going to deduct from that $250 for the mess that you left behind, leaving $263. And I believe that you should give that back to her from her security deposit, and that's what I'm ordering. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $263. That's it.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Carver versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Carver, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
You were incarcerated.
Yes.
For how long?
probably a year and a half.
And then you were released to a halfway house.
Yes.
From what I gather, you and your sister had been sort of estranged for a while you were in jail, and you discussed with your sister moving to Colorado, her moving to Colorado, and getting an apartment or a house together and sort of building a life together.
Yes.
And she did. She relocated. You were in the halfway house. You found an apartment together, signed a lease together. And then something happened and you were not released from the halfway house.
Correct.
You believe it was something that your sister had told your probation officer, but in any event, your sister, you say, forced you to pay.
Yes, she did.
Your half of the lease.
Yes.
Even though you weren't living there.
Right.
And that's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes, it is.
Explain to me how that's her fault.
When this started out in June of 2000, we discussed the move with her coming to Colorado. And I paid the money for the house. And she came shortly after. I had like one weekend there with her, 4 hours each day. And
you were allowed out of the halfway house 4 hours a day?
And that particular weekend, we had an argument, and I told her she was not going to be able to smoke her marijuana because I was on provisions that where I could not be around drugs at all because my problems were drug related in the past, and it seemed to be a big effect. She said no, she wasn't going to quit it, she'll smoke out in the yard. Well, it wasn't soon after that that my case manager called me into his office and told me that he was going to cancel the whole thing and that I would not be able to get out of the halfway house for a time. He didn't tell me how much time, but I had to stay at the halfway house and I could not get out. So I was crying and very upset, and I said, well, okay, then I can't get out. There's nothing I can do. Can you get a roommate? And she said, yeah, sure, I'll get a roommate. And then shortly after that, my case manager called me in again and told me that I had to pay half of the rent. And I called her back and asked her, why? Why is this? I thought she was going to get a roommate. She told me she would, and she wouldn't even talk. She was just really nasty to me on the phone. And I do have proof here that I did pay the rent, and I also have proof that I was not liable for the lease because the lease wasn't even an issue whenever I rented the house. There was no lease on the house, but she insisted to the landlord to make up a lease because she needed it for housing authorities to help her pay her rent.
How much did you pay altogether?
I paid like $2,400 altogether. I paid the initial $1,600 and another $16, so $32.
$1,600 was what?
The original, that was the first payment on the house, which was first in security. I've got that receipt here. Then I've got 4 more receipts for 4 more months of half of the $800 month rent, which is $400 each month.
All right, Miss Wilson. I want you to tell me only what happened as a result of your sister telling you she could no longer come to live with you because she wasn't going to be released. So that was beyond her control.
Well, I've got emails that shows our correspondence, and she told me that I told her she needed to find me a roommate if she couldn't live with me, and I gave her the...
She doesn't have to find you a roommate. Why couldn't you find your own roommate? Why wouldn't you want to find your own roommate?
Well, because I had health problems, and it was very complicated. Also, we mentioned the... and I did smoke pot at the time. I do no longer do that. That was stupid, and I don't want to be a bad influence on my daughter.
So, who else lives in the house?
Just me and my daughter. My son was there at the time.
And how old is your son?
My son is now 17.
So that there were 3 of you and 1 of your sister.
Right.
Why should she pay half the rent if she's only one person?
Because she agreed to. When I came out, we had a limited amount that we were living on, $512 a month, and I told her this is what I could afford to pay every month. She could have found a cheaper place. I couldn't even get housing authority to okay this house because it was so bad. The floors were caving through, there was cracks in the wall, I fell through the steps and hurt myself. I couldn't get housing to okay it. So I got out as soon as I could, which was in December. She paid for 4 months, which is $400 each month, which is $1,600.
But what about the $1,600 security?
I paid. I've got the receipts. I paid my half.
And how much was your half?
My half, there were the $800 security. I paid $400. And $400 for the first. So it was the first and last. Okay. And I paid the deposit myself. She didn't pay any of the deposit.
I've got a receipt that I paid the first and last right here.
Right.
From the landlord.
And I've got a receipt that shows I paid her back for my half.
Okay. I have this and this from the landlord.
And I've got the lease in her name that she signed before I got here.
What efforts did you make to find a roommate?
To be honest, I didn't, because the house was so run down. And
But you did not?
I didn't.
Okay, can I see the receipt that you gave her for the $800?
It's all stapled in a pile, and I got the emails too, and I highlighted the parts that I was talking about. And they turned her down to get out because they told me she was a flight risk, because I called them myself.
That's not true.
Doesn't mean she wasn't released.
That's correct.
So there was an impossibility of performance of her for the contract.
The whole deal with her was to get a place that housing would okay so that I could get their help. And they would not help me with this house. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made her liable if I could have gotten
Do you have
help.
anything from housing that says that the house was inappropriate?
No, because they gave me, it says that the windows have to be secure, that you have to have fire alarms, that the floors have to be...
Because the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit because the house was left a wreck.
Yes.
No, I cleaned the house.
No, the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit, and I assume you didn't sue the landlord for your security deposit back.
Yeah, I'd only paid $200, so no, I didn't.
You only paid $200?
Yes.
I paid $800.
Well, she paid $800.
No, we paid first and last. That wasn't a security. I mean, he might have worded it that way, but when I gave him notice, he used that last $800 for my last month's rent.
I understand that. He may have used it, but that was her money.
Well, yeah, it was half her money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Carver says her sister Julia Wilson owes for the return of rent. Julia is countersuing, claiming Terry used her identity when she was arrested for possession of crack.
All right, let's get to your counterclaim, Ms. Wilson, which I assume you want to pursue.
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit suggests that your sister, in 1997, when she was arrested, used your name and identification. Tell me what happened.
She was arrested in 1998. I didn't find out about it until a year ago when I registered to vote. They said that I was a felon, that I couldn't vote. And she's got, that's me, Julia Pendleton, that's my maiden name, and this is my sister. And she was arrested for crack and possession of paraphernalia, and she had broken jaw, so I hit her with a 2x4. And so due to this, I couldn't vote at first. I had to carry around this from the Tampa Police Department saying that there's no warrant out for me, and I've never been arrested, and I've never been fingerprinted, and it was humiliating and degrading, and it's still, Julia Pendleton will always be her alias.
You have been arrested.
Never.
Well, she's been arrested before. Ms. Carver, did you, in fact, use your sister's identity?
Yes, I did. In 1997, I did. And I spoke with her about it, and I confessed to her about it. And
When?
in 1998.
A year later?
Yes, and we did discuss this, and I told her, and I have felt very bad about this whole thing. I know it was wrong, and yes, I was on drugs, and I did a lot of crazy things. I have a nasty past. But she said that she understood why I did it. She said that she loved me, and she forgave me. And now all of a sudden, it's all back up. It's like, you know, my past is being thrown in my face. This is 3 years I've worked hard to change my life. And it's like, it's constantly, every time she gets mad at me, she throws this up and shows me that nasty picture.
You sued me.
I'm sorry, but I just can't deal with it. And, you know, I want to get this over with because I have a nasty past, and I'm sorry.
Well,
But she forgave me, I thought.
3 warrants out for her from Florida right now. And there's a warrant out for her in Tampa. So that's 4 warrants from Florida, active warrants on for her arrest.
If they were active, I wouldn't be here right now.
I can give you the VOP numbers right here.
Like to see?
And she said she'd take care of it. I'd given her a year and a half to take care of it, and she hasn't made one phone call to get it taken care of.
What are the warrants for?
Violation of probation for grand theft and also possession of crack and bad check ring.
Do you know about these warrants?
Yes, yes, I do. And the grand theft was taken care of years ago. That one was from like 1992.
And the others?
The others were taken care of. The violation of probation was still active as far as I knew, but then my parole officer now said that there was nothing on the NCIC against me right now. Otherwise, they would not have allowed me to come here today.
No, they just want to extradite you because you're not worth it.
Ms. Carver, you don't mind if Officer Byrd gets in touch with your probation officer to make sure that these warrants are still not outstanding. So I'm going to ask you to wait when court is over.
Yes, ma'am.
You give the probation officer, I'm sure he has the number, a call and ask if any of these warrants are still extant.
Sure thing, Judge.
Ms. Carver, my initial order was going to be in your favor for $1,200 for the rent that you paid. But the fact that you were arrested and used her identification without her permission, even though she forgave you,
right?
She may have forgiven you until you filed a lawsuit against her.
Right.
And now she said, well, now that you filed a lawsuit against me, I want to be compensated for the embarrassment, the humiliation that went along with this identity theft, which is really what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
You had forgiven your sister.
Yes.
Okay. Until this lawsuit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're even. Who are you living with?
Myself.
Good luck. Check with Byrd. That's all.
Thank you.
Pardon our excuse. You may step out.
I think it's fair because I know what I did to her was wrong.
I don't hold it against her.
I worked really hard for 3 years to straighten out my life, and I just wish it was not there to haunt me.
I hope she gets her life on track and does good.
We called your probation officer and everything's fine. Okay, she's
Thank
free to
you.
go.
Thank
God
you very
bless
much.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Warren versus Quintel. Step forward, please.
26-year-old customer service rep Lakeisha Warren is suing her former friend, 28-year-old maintenance worker Andrew Quintel, and his mother Joan Quintel. Lakeisha says Andrew owes for unpaid loans and for kicking her car. Andrew has a countersuit for harassment.
Miss Warren, Mr. Quintel was your boyfriend for a while. According to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him.
Well, no, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but I did make a series of loans to him.
He was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And in addition, at one point you say that out of anger and rage when you refused to loan him your car, he kicked it, causing some damage.
That's correct.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
All right, when was the first loan that you made to him?
12/27 of 99.
And how long had you known him before December of 1999?
About 4 years.
And tell me about how he approached you with regard to this money.
Well, his job is like temporary, seasonal, so he didn't have any money. And since I worked full time, then he asked me, could he get a loan?
You have a canceled check?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
I actually have 3 of them and 1 more.
So you have 4 checks?
That's correct.
Okay. The first check that you have is $19.99 for $200, and you made this check payable to his mother.
Yes.
Why?
Because he didn't have a banking account to cash the check.
Then I see checks in the year 2000. So after he didn't pay you back the December loan, you gave him more money in February of 2000.
Yes.
Then there's another check here in April of 2001 for $1,500.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that one. That's made out to cash.
I went to the bank and cashed the check in the pretense that he would pay me back on his next work day, which was the 10th.
In April of 2001, did you take a $1,500 cash loan from the plaintiff?
No, ma'am.
You know anything about $1,500?
No, ma'am. That's new to me.
Well, let's get back to the $280. $280 that's owed for a couple of years now. She gave you this money. This is clear. These checks were written out to your mother. Were these loans for you?
Well, ma'am, me and Miss Warren, we were friends for a while, so I mean...
Could you answer my question?
Huh. Yeah, that wasn't a loan.
What was it?
I can't exactly remember. It's been more than a couple of times that she's given me money or I've given her money. It's been over 6-7 year friendship, so I mean...
Okay, let me hear about the car.
It was kicked on the right side and the passenger side. He tried to let the air out of the tires, too, because his friend had dropped him off.
Tell me about that incident in February of 2000.
I was at work. I was working 6:30 to 2:30. He came because he wanted to use the car to, I guess, to run some errands. I told him no. He tried to let the air out of the car. He kicked the car so hard the rubber fell off.
Now, after this incident, according to your paperwork, you gave him $1,500 in cash.
That's correct.
Why would you do that?
Stupid.
You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me what that's about.
Basically, I tried to end our friendship.
Why is that?
Oh, because I got a new girlfriend.
What do you mean a new girlfriend? I thought the plaintiff wasn't your girlfriend.
She wasn't my girlfriend.
So?
But
so you got a
she was
girlfriend?
friend of mine. Yeah, I got a girlfriend.
And?
So the friendship started to deteriorate, meaning less and less time speaking and talking and being friends, and then nothing at all. And when this came about, there was numerous, phone calls and stuff to my mother's house when I was staying there at times, of hanging up in all hours of the night and during the day.
Well, why didn't he just leave me alone then?
Just a second.
How can you stalk someone if they... Okay.
If you tried to stop it, why did you still continue to take money from her?
We were still friends, I would try to stop it.
I don't want...
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, we were friends, and it would stop for a while, and then it would go on again for a while.
He's confused.
I'm confused.
Well, basically, ma'am, basically what it is
Basically, we
were
slept together, and that was it. That's it.
Shh, quiet.
Well, by her saying that, then you know why a lot of this stuff was going on. And when I decided not to deal with her,
If you interrupt again, aside from the fact that you haven't proven your case, I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
Okay, go ahead.
Good. I have some advice for you and for your mother. Change your phone number and unlist it. And if she's being a nut, then you might just have to do that.
I would like to say I'm not calling those people.
I think that I should listen to me, Miss Warren. I believe that you're calling.
No, because someone's calling my house at all hours of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning.
I think that probably, maybe his girlfriend is doing that. Are you telling me that you did not call more than 2 or 3 times a day, ever?
No.
Do you have any proof, Mr. Quintel or Mrs. Quintel, that the plaintiff called your home or place of business in the last 6 months? Because she says she has not. You have proof?
I have got...
No, she just has
I have the times and dates that she has called.
No, I have something from the phone company.
They don't have it.
So you don't have any proof?
No, it's my...
Okay. So far, Mr. Quintel, based upon the evidence that I've heard, you owe the plaintiff $30. That's all she can prove. The other checks have no indication as to what... I'm speaking.
What about his harassment?
I've dealt with his harassment. I think, Miss Warren, that you have to get over it.
I am over it.
Good. Very good. The case is dismissed with the exception of $30, which you have in fact proven. And with regard to your harassment, you have no proof of harassment.
Well, that's because they don't let incoming calls.
What do you want me to do about that, sir? Proof is what you need in court. And I suggest that if a relationship, a friendship, an intimacy is over, you move on with it. Both of you. Yeah. And the problem is, if you did in fact take this money from her, and I'm not sure whether you did or whether you didn't, but that is, of course, a possibility. She would be doubly angry if you dumped her for somebody else. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so maybe if you did, in fact, take money from her that you did not return, and if you want this harassment to stop, maybe you should give her back the money. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't, she just may continue to make your life miserable. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye and good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 358 on the calendar in the matter of Stenger versus Stenger. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Stenger, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Correct.
Who is this?
My husband.
And who are you?
I'm Tasha.
How old are you, Tasha?
18.
You're the granddaughter.
Yes.
And you?
Jennifer.
Who are you?
I'm the partner of Deborah, 6 years.
Deborah.
Yes.
Okay. This is your lawsuit. It is your claim that your former daughter-in-law was having some trouble with Tasha. She called you and asked you if you would let her come and live with you. Your granddaughter did come to live with you. You claimed that your daughter-in-law promised to send you support for the child. She did not, and then your granddaughter took off from your house and went back to her mother's house.
That's basically correct, yes.
When did she come to live with you?
January 12th.
And when did she leave your house?
I noticed her missing the morning of July 16th.
Did things go all right between you when she was there?
Basically, yes, we had a couple normal teenage things, but other than that, Tasha was a wonderful child.
What was your arrangement with her mother with regard to support for Tasha when she was living with you?
When we got home on the 12th, Debbie was there with Tasha. She explained to us that she was having some problems with her at home and then asked us to take her in, and if we didn't do so, she was going to turn her over to foster care. So we took her in. We made arrangements that day that, she would take care of her financially.
Well, no, tell me exactly what was said.
She never actually named, per se, a dollar figure, but she just led me to believe that she would meet her financial needs, and I just took
But you never discussed an amount?
No.
How much did she send you from January to July?
In the beginning, she brought over money orders, totaled $270. What I was getting was actually the child's father's support money. What happened was it ended up getting frozen. And then
how much money was she receiving from your son?
$44 a week. It was payroll deducted.
Was there ever a conversation that she would turn over his child support payments to you?
Yes.
Did you ever discuss any money in addition to that she was going to pay you?
No. When we needed help, when I would call her, like how she needed some medical treatment, I would call and leave messages on her answering machine that I needed up and beyond what the insurance was going to cover. She never would return any phone calls.
Where was your son at this time?
He was there.
There where?
About 5 miles away, and he came over 2 and 3 times a week and spent quite a deal of time with Tasha.
Why wouldn't you call your son and tell him that she had some medical bills?
I called both, and he did end up getting me money.
Okay.
Total of, in the 7 months Tasha lived there, he gave me out-of-pocket money, $700.
He gave you directly?
Yes.
$700. And she gave you $270?
Yes.
And did she give you any more than $270?
Never.
Now, you say the child support at some point became frozen. When did that child support become frozen?
It started on February the 1st. I just simply asked the question to my son, do you have to pay child support money to a child that no longer resides at that address? And he at that point didn't even know the answer, so he called his caseworker and asked. And I guess that's what started it rolling. And then a notarized letter from Deborah on 2/20 states that the child was residing with me, and they just, after having heard from both parents, just froze the money.
And so the money kept coming in?
Kept coming in, but was not going, and to this day has never been released. There was, on October the 17th, there was a court hearing. And to my knowledge, what money was supposed to have been frozen while Tasha was in my care was supposed to be, according to this paperwork, turned over to me. But as of today, I've not received one dime.
Well, but you will be receiving.
According to the child support.
Let me see the paper that you have.
To that. According to what they have told us, that Tasha was actually entitled to.
The impounded funds shall be released to Jean Stenger. That's you.
That's right.
So you will be getting that money.
At least the $600, yes.
Okay. Now, is there any discrepancy in what your mother-in-law has indicated to the story that you would tell me?
Yes, absolutely, Judge.
Let me hear.
I did correspond with Jean on taking some family intervention with my daughter. When Jean volunteered to take Tasha, there was no monies per se as an amount to keep her. I did tell Jean, providing that I did receive her father's child support, that I would indeed turn that over to her. Jean is correct on stating that the child support was impounded on February 2nd. Due to the child support being impounded, it froze my other daughter's child support also. I have another daughter. So while both child supports was impounded, I had to write a letter, as Ms. Stenger said, to get the child support released.
For your other daughter?
For my other daughter. Tasha's child support was indeed impounded.
Okay.
And I could not turn over the monies to Ms. Stenger.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at Sears and I'm at shipping.
How much money do you get for your other child for child support?
I receive $44.12 per week per child.
And how much do you earn?
I bring home about $700 every 2 weeks. But in January I fell on my back. I was off work for 14 weeks, and I received 50% of my pay. I was bringing home $250 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Mrs. Stanger, your lawsuit seeks $3,000 from the child care expenses.
Right.
There has to be an agreement, which there clearly was not, other than the fact that she would turn over the child support payments to you.
Well, she didn't lead me to believe that she was going to care for the child. She didn't move her into my home with the understanding that I was going to meet all financial debt.
Right, well, you wouldn't have. She was getting $44 a week from your son. Clearly, the $44 a week that she was getting from your son doesn't cover child care expenses, even when the child is in her care. So she has to use her income as well. She says that she was receiving half disability for a substantial part of that time.
That is correct, Your Honor, but that's not the whole story. According to all of these, this is the police reports that took place within their home. She was couldn't go back to work, according to the police reports, because she had to go to drug rehab.
That is a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jean Stanger says ex-daughter-in-law Deborah Stanger owes for child support costs when her granddaughter lived with her. Deborah says she gave Jean all of her child support money.
Mrs. Stanger, whether the injury at work was drug-related or not, if she could not work for that period of time, then there was no additional money coming in.
Right.
So let me tell you what would have happened, Mrs. Stanger. She could have gone back into court and pursued additional support for Tasha from your son. Stop shaking your head, because it's a possibility. I know. I was in family court for 25 years, sir.
But he didn't have a job, so he was hurt.
So you as parents pitched in and took care of your granddaughter.
Well, the only thing, I incurred so much expense. Number one, I had to take her back and forth to school, round trip, 4 times a day, 80 miles a day. She had to have $3 a day for lunch money.
I understand that it was difficult, but that's what grandparents do.
Well, you don't mind it when you're abused.
And you wouldn't be here today, Mrs. Stanger, were your son still married to the defendant?
No.
Of course not. And you're not suing both of them. You're choosing just to sue your former daughter-in-law.
Well, I felt because she had full custody of her, and we had virtually an agreement that that's where it should go.
No, virtually an agreement is not an agreement, Mrs. Stanger.
Because I didn't have her put it in writing?
No, you said it was my understanding that. And I believe what she said to you was, I will turn over the child support payments to you. So in addition to giving you the child support payments, she also gave you a little bit of extra money, $270. But that is not an agreement. It's not an agreement that is binding in a court. So you have a son who's not working, because why?
He has a heart condition and is still under doctor's care as of today.
So?
Well, what we're saying is he was working 3 jobs and they made him quit, okay?
They made him quit all 3 jobs?
All but one. He could remain to do it because he could do it out of his own home.
So you have a son who can hardly take care of himself, and you have an ex-daughter-in-law who's got 2 children, who was really paying the lion's share of support for both children for a long time, because on $44 a week you don't take care of a child.
That was only after, what do you want to call it, the child support was had a reduction done in it. He was actually paying $134. I have a court printout where he paid her $100,000 over the time period from the day of the divorce.
Since when?
Was actually, when were you divorced, Debbie? 87?
So you're telling me from 1987 he paid her $100,000?
Yes.
So?
Well, I'm just stating that he paid more than $44 in
what I'm telling you is, so?
Oh, I understand that.
It doesn't come out to a lot of money. Sounds like a lot of money. Paid her $100,000. If you sell me, paid her $100,000 in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years for the support of 2 children, I would say, okay, you know, man's doing his job. But since 1987,
yes, I know.
If he's paid her $100,000, that doesn't cut it for me.
How many years was it?
14 years.
What about
14? I'll figure it out what it is for you. All right, my trusty calculator. 100,000 divided by 14 divided by 12 equals $595 a month. Divided by 4.3 is $138 a week. Divided by 2.
No, 3.
3 at that time.
You mean she had 3 children?
Yes, in the beginning.
Well, glad you told me that. That's even less. So forget it. You got $1,500. But I have a sense that one of the reasons that you're here is because you're angry because your granddaughter left your house without so much as a goodbye, a thank you, or goodbye, I'm going back to my mother. Step up. Did you have a fight with your grandmother?
I had a few little fights.
Well, the last one. You left sometime in July. Why?
I got tired of hearing her and everybody put my mom down as she was a bad person.
And they did this to you, in front of you?
Well, they did it in their bedroom or in the living room or when I was in the room, like I was invisible, you know. It didn't matter where I was.
That's a big mistake. That's a terrible mistake. You're absolutely right.
That is not true. Conversations were not held in front of the child.
That's not true.
Well, listen, may not be held in front of the child, but if they're held in a room where she can overhear them.
That didn't happen.
Well, that's what she says. What do you think happened? Why did she leave?
Number one, we got a phone call in regard back to the child support.
On July 5th, they called. Debbie had kind of rapport with them, and she had been in their office on that day, and when she left, they had informed her on that day if she would get letters from both the children, they would release the funds. July 7th, Debbie started showing up at my home. Tasha was with us for 7 months. During that time frame, Debbie never one time called me or my husband and asked how the child was doing, if she was in need of anything, nothing. Like I said before, when I needed the help with the medical bills, Tasha had came to us. She had a root canal that needed to be done, an abscess on her tooth. Debbie did carry insurance, but when it came time for the insurance check come around, the insurance company mailed it to Debbie. Debbie took the funds and cashed the check and never refunded, never paid the dentist, never. And
that's a lie.
I have the bill from the dentist.
That's not a lie. Why did that happen?
When the check came to me?
Yes. What did you do when the check came to you?
I cashed it and I bought Tasha socks, underwear, and shoes.
Wrong. Wrong.
Absolutely.
That was wrong.
Yes, it was.
So, how much was the check?
$89.10.
You owe her that. You want to buy your daughter underwear, you buy your daughter underwear.
I didn't pay that. I didn't have a root canal done. I didn't have anything done. I still have
The child to this day hasn't had the root canal. The infection in her tooth was so bad, they placed her on antibiotic, and I took her, as they requested, to a medical doctor. And well, what I'm saying to you, it was in her blood system. They said that it wasn't life-threatening yet, but it could get there. And if I hadn't got her help...
That's a dangerous situation,
I'm
telling you, that you
want to take care of that. And it was one that I got
that.
placed in the middle of.
What?
The tooth has been pulled.
The tooth has been pulled?
Yeah. Thank heaven.
Well, that's cheaper than root canal, just to pull out the tooth. Where was the tooth?
My
wisdom's going
back
to take her
molar.
Didn't the dentist tell you that it would be better to do a crown and to do root canal work on a young child's mouth rather than pulling a tooth so that the whole mouth shifts? See, it pays to have a father who's a dentist. Didn't he tell you that?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't have the $562.
Get it! Get 2 jobs. Get 5 jobs. Okay, so far I have that you owe her $89.10.
The only out-of-pocket expense, as far as for debt, she needed a new book for school. For one of her classes, $27.10.
So you bought your granddaughter a book. I'm not so concerned about buying your granddaughter a book. Listen, if the reason that you left your grandmother's house is because you heard her and your grandfather saying things that were unkind about your mother, that was a tremendous mistake on their part, not on your part. But if you wanted to be a little more grown up, you would have said, I want to go home to my mother.
That's what she needed to do.
One time, and they said that I couldn't leave.
That's not true.
They said that you couldn't leave. Why?
Because I lived there, and my grandfather would not let me leave.
You mean you felt like a prisoner? Is that what you felt like?
No.
It didn't happen. I think this letter here that she wrote
Did you go out with your friends?
Explains why she left.
You never went out? In the 7 months you lived there, you never went out with friends?
Once a weekend, if that.
Fine, so you went out with your friends. Doesn't sound to me like you were a prisoner.
She went anywhere and everywhere she wanted. I seen to it she did.
Okay.
And I think this letter that she actually wrote here actually explains why she left. She thought she was going to get that money, just like I stated, from child support, and I was going to spend it on those things.
Okay, good. She starts out with, sorry the letter's so sloppy, but dear Granny and Grandpa, I'm sorry, it's been great and all, but it was time to go home a long time ago. You don't get me or understand me. Well, that's probably true because grandparents don't get foolish teenagers. Maybe someday you will. And I know my mom is not perfect, but she is my mama and she needs my love. And I need hers. That's an honest feeling. I hope that you both know that I love you very much and I'll be back tomorrow for my things. It's not about how much you did or are doing or anything like that. It's just that nothing has changed in my heart. Your granddaughter says to you she knows she needs her mama right now.
And she should.
And that I will always have you. And she tells you what I'm getting a new job and a cell phone. She's made plans for school.
And all those plans have fallen through.
And she ends the letter by saying, I'm not dumb and you know that I will be thinking of you twice on everything. And then she says, Angel's love is always with you all. This is not a mean letter. She's just saying, it's a teenage letter. And she's saying, I love you, but I love my mama and I have to be with my mama. And you don't really get my mama. You don't like my mama. May not like her style, but she's my mama and I need to be with her right now. And perhaps it could have been handled differently, Mrs. Stenger, but that's not the way it was handled.
No.
So.
No, I think that's the whole thing in a nutshell.
I got you.
Since that time, we've not heard from her at all.
Mrs. Stenger, children need the widest possible community of love and affection that they can possibly get, even when they're 18 years old. And clearly, your daughter has had a lot of ups and downs. Fair statement? Clearly, when a mother gives up physical custody of a child to someone other than a parent, it's saying that there have been problems that I can't cope with. And the fact that her grandparents said, fine, we'll try, is a testament to them, not something that should make you angry with them if they did some foolish things while she was there by letting her little pitchers overhear conversations. That was the wrong thing to do. But basically, they had reasonable hearts because they said, you know, she's our granddaughter, we love her, let her come and disrupt our otherwise calm household. When a teenager comes into your house, your whole house turns upside down. It never is the same. So your grandparents loved you enough to say, come live with us. And your grandmother drove you back and forth to school. It was a big drive every day?
Yeah, it was.
Could she have said to you, if you're going to live here, you have to go to school locally?
Yes.
Of course she could have. She could have said, listen, I'm not driving an hour each way to get you to and from school. I want you to live with us, but you'll have to finish high school close by our house. But she wouldn't do that because you got your friends. You wanted to finish high school where you were, so she extended herself. It's time to put a period and not be so angry, okay? Will you try?
I'm not angry.
Are you angry at her?
Oh, no. No, not angry at all.
Good. I'm glad. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all. Oh, except for $89.10. That's your gift.
Parties are excused. You may